that the revolution's near. But to me it seems quite clear that it's all just a little bit of history repeating.
On this glorious spring October day in Melbourne, the first Saturday in October, the two teams are starting to sort themselves out prior to the replay of the 2010 Grand Final. Ross Lyon and Mickey Malthouse, the two coaches. I wonder if Roscoe can join Alan Jeans and also Mickey Malthouse can win a third premiership here. Here's the St Kilda coach. He's made a big impact. Let's go down to the boundary. Matthew Richardson and Tim Watson.
Well, Richo, the build-up has been different than last week. Pre-game, we talked about how different it felt as well. But from the moment the players came out onto the ground, it feels like it did 7 days ago.
Oh, it's amazing down here now. You've got a lot more supporters from each club. When the theme songs went up, they went up with them. We've just had AC/DC blaring. We can barely hear, but it's just a fantastic atmosphere down here.
Last week, 189 tackles. It was a close game. It was an intense game. The conditions very different than last week, though. There's no cloud cover, a lot of sun, probably 2 or 3 degrees warmer than what it was last week. I don't think we're going to get the same game. I think we're going to get this game's going to open up at some stage this afternoon.
Well, one thing that always happens is that Collingwood lead in their matches. They're always in front. They always go down to that crowd. Lead have barely been behind, certainly in the final series this year, but for much of this season they have led practically from the first bounce.
Well, I think we've seen with Collingwood, they are capable of playing at a speed that no other team can. They're so quick, but that means they jump into games. Sometimes as the game wears on and the speed goes out of the game, that's when they've probably been off there at their peak. But their early games, as we saw in the first half last week.
So the Saints, do they attack early or they try and contain, do you reckon?
Look, I think they take a lot out of their second half. That's the way they play their football.
Well, the Saints are ready. They're not delayed today. Ready to go into battle, and now joined by a familiar foe. They've set up a rivalry, these two, as we go down to Craig Willis.
Ladies and gentlemen, we invite you to stand for the Australian National Anthem to be performed by Julie Anthony.
Well, 5 years ago, a thoroughbred went from champion to legend by winning a Melbourne Cup. You feel like blokes like Goddard are 2 hours away, or maybe a Swan, from doing that, because that's what the winning team will have surrounding them for the rest of their lives.
Well, absolutely. When your nerves are jangling as they are right now, it's whether it can lift players or whether it sinks them. And we've seen it over the years. Just at the moment, it lifted Goddard last week. Maybe Swan's thinking it's sunk me a bit.
Toss, you can face it. Yeah, you can face it. So come over here.
So the toss of the coin.
Coming in now, and I'll introduce you to him. Nick, good luck, mate. Hey, Nick, good luck. This is Pam. Nick Revolt, your call, mate. Heads was the call. Tails.
So Collingwood win the toss. Pam Mawson did the toss. She's from the St Kilda cheer squad. They won that battle, best of 3 earlier in the week.
The two necks seen a bit of each other in the last couple of weeks. Various functions, the two rival captains, and they'll be close again this afternoon in more ways than one. Final message from Nick Revolt. The underdogs, St Kilda, and the favourites at their favourite end, at the city end, down in front of their cheer squad, Collingwood. Can they annex their first premiership since 1990?
Lee, you mentioned 5 minutes ago last week that St Kilda, having lost the year before, that would really help them at that point. That's all gone now, I reckon, don't you?
Well, no, I think the same thing happens this week. But it's not until the last 10 minutes or the last 5 minutes when things are really tight. That's when the memory, like last week, it was the nothing memory. The year before, there was a devastation memory. That's much worse.
I think Mick Malthouse also has some ammunition on the fact that, you know, it was gut-wrenching to play in a draw. Also, there is that tomorrow, the next day, and that sort of thing. But you've got to really drive that home when the game is in the balance. You've got to get the job done.
Sound like a firm of psychologists, Matthews, Harley, and committee. Hasn't got a ring to it. Just about set then. Players to their positions. Lenny Hayes, the only winner last week, took home a medal on the back of 32 possessions. There he is. What a game he played. But a hollow victory in as much as he has to come back and do it all over again. And of course, another Norm Smith medal will be presented today. Leon Davis, who played last week, will get a premiership medal if Collingwood win.
And we see Gilbert's heading to defence. Just looking sort of Kazitsky starting forward. McAvoy's going to start in the right.
What a day for Ben McAvoy. Left out last week, heartbreak.
Interesting to see that Nick Dal Santo for St Kilda starting in the forward line. Looks like Alan Tooby's going to him. He's had a really good final series, Tooby. Leads the club in tackles.
Dawson and Clark. So we're set to go. It will be decided this afternoon, one way or another. No impasse here, but lots of passion. Running back to the MCG, and a good one to start proceedings. Tapped down by Jolly as he did last week. Scramble inside the centre circle. Schneider against the flow, gets a hand pass down towards half forward. Well done by Lee Brown. Came in strongly. Kicks it towards half forward. Dawes brilliantly. Pendlebury to the square. Mark is taken by Cloak. 5 metres out. Have they beaten last week's time? They got the first goal in 24 seconds last week. Pendlebury involved. And when you know it, it's happened again. This is a replay.
We're in for a good day then.
The blood rule with Dawson here.
Jack.
Isn't it amazing to see Collingwood this final series break the game away from the start and get it?
Change of free kick.
Oh,
there was a free kick off the ball.
Hold the footy.
Johnson has got there.
Hold the footy.
Jones has got the free kick.
somebody just ripped up the script.
Jack, are we ready?
So,
I think that's fair to say. A goal went begging.
Yeah, no doubt.
Used to say to players, when you've got the ball, let the opposition do anything to you. Don't give the umpire a chance to turn the ball over. And it's happened.
and Travis Cloak would have liked an early one like that, wouldn't he, from the square?
One of the key messages from Ross Lyon, I think, from last week's game was to start the game well. So a goal to Collingwood within the first 20 seconds would have been extremely deflating.
So Blake to Gwilt. This is the Saints footy. Gwilt's so good last week. Tries to penetrate early and finds Schneider. Oh, what a remarkable start. Kazitsky worked underneath it by Reid. Side bottom. Still the only teenager out there as he was last week. And now Johnson. I'm not sure if he really wanted Reid. I think he wanted the next man in Dido, but Reid took it anyway. Pendlebury's free. Against Baker. So Pendlebury, just 5 kicks last week, starts well here. He started well last week in short to ball. As Dennis mentioned, strange thing footy. Captain Saints plays in his second grand final against them in a week. Kicks to the pocket, not a good kick. He might have been looking for his old teammate there.
Fisher did well dropping back, took the mark. Here's Goddard. Did it at both ends last week to Gilbert, confronted. Slips a kick away, but straight into the hands of O'Brien. So Harry O'Brien will kick it goal from about 45 metres.
It's the play on, isn't it? One thing we know about Collingwood, when we see the reversal, just
Jump out.
bottom of frame there, that was it.
Take him out.
Against Swan, was it?
Swan.
Yep.
Crazy. Meantime, Harry O'Brien kicks, and this swings violently right to left, out of bounds on the full, and or a mark, out of bounds on the full. Kick to be taken by Fisher, who knocked up taking marks last week.
One thing we've seen already is a huge work rate from Brendan Goddard. When St Kilda was streaming forward, he was pushing into the forward 50, and now he's right back on the defensive 50.
To the outer side, Maxwell, two-fisted, knocks it close to the boundary. Shaw pushed off the line of the football. It goes out of bounds.
It's amazing. We've been going almost 2 and a bit minutes. It's just been in Collingwood's forward half. Again, they've just controlled the footy early.
But they haven't got that early score that
Yet.
they look to have in their hands. Here is Swan. He was the culprit and kicks towards the goals. Blake getting back. Fisher again. A third disposal for him under pressure. Back to Baker. Having trouble with the press, aren't they? Getting it out.
Had the opportunity then, St Kilda, to actually come back out onto the fat side of the ground where there was plenty of space, but Sam Fisher's initial thought was to go back down the traffic line. So I would have liked to see him wheel around into the space for St Kilda pushing forward.
McAvoy, Jolly won the tack clearly to ball. Saints did well not to give a high kick away. Dempster tried to toe poke it. Milne in the back half, brought down. Quick kick by McCaffrey to fall forward. Dawes on hands and knees. Can't quite get upside bottom. Had an airy. Down low, Schneider, well done. Gilbert belts it outside the 50.
And it's coming back. Nathan Brown gets on the end of it. Looks inside the forward 50. High ball. Get under that one. Plenty of Saints in the vicinity. And the mark is taken by Goddard. So again, incessant attacking from Collingwood, being held up by the Saints. What a beautiful kick to the outer side. Revolt. Nothing much up ahead, just lays the ball into the path of Kazetsky, bounces right on the 50. Maxwell read the bounce best, runs onto the loose ball, goes towards the outer side. The bounce favours side bottom. It got away from him, but inadvertently that helped. He kicks down towards the attacking 50. Dawes brilliant, knocked it to Cloak. Cloak the long ball, Goldsack. Well, he doesn't kick too many goals. Tyson Goldsack.
Well, you wouldn't have got this last week, Tyson Goldsack, for the first goal.
Hasn't kicked a goal this season. Just on the ground. 5 career goals. And this will test him. Who would have thought? Goldsack to kick the first goal in the grand final. Not too many. Probably not even him. Goldsack kicks it.
Now this is exactly where the goal was generated. McWalter's actually trying to do a job on Maxwell. Maxwell's read the play, generated the turnover. They're still the #1 side in the competition. It's scoring from turnovers. That started the forward foray. That's the perfect build-up for Collingwood.
Long way to go, but Collingwood selectors will be thinking, yeah, that wasn't a bad change. Goldsack in.
Just at the moment, the game has pretty much started with the kind of matchups that last week's game started with. Now, that's working for Collingwood. But at the moment, Jones is trying to take Swan, for instance. That's not really working at this point of time. So it's as if we've gone back a week at this point.
So McAvoy, Thomas was the third man up. Saw all that from the Saints last week. Del Santo and Johnson cut off by Tuvey. McAvoy got down low. Thomas was terrific. Well done, Ray. Stood up in the challenge. Kicks to half forward. Revolt and Brown. Revolt overruns it. Eddie in hard. Rode the O'Brien bunt pretty well. Harry collects it and gallops with a second running bounce. We didn't see much of that last week. Belts it forward under pressure. 2 half forward. McCaffrey's hands not good there. Gwilt. Hayes running hard with Willingham, searching for it. Lenny got down low as he so often does. Boundary throw-in, and speaking of the boundary, Matthew Richardson.
Thanks, Bruce. Well, just at that last goal was kicked, Dane Swan sprinted off the ground with his tagger Jones. As soon as he went up, Jones sat on the bench. Swan ran straight back on to try and loose the tag.
Not the first time we've seen that. Jolly taps it down. Swan just missed. After the football goes McAvoy. Wellingham, head down. Adolescent moments ago, Wellingham body to body with Hayes. Hayes so hard to shift. Wonderful balance.
One of the things, at the moment, St Kilda have 12 kicks and they've had 8 handballs. Collingwood 16 kicks, 3 handballs. Collingwood are kicking the footy. St Kilda got to start doing that as well.
Hayes loves that situation, third man up. Moments ago saw Thomas doing it for Collingwood. Goddard started well, hand passes towards midfield. Brilliant pick-up by Maxwell. Ran into a dead end. Schneider goes in. Can't do much with it. Some heavy work done on the ground. At the base of all of that is Eddie.
speaking of Eddie and Maxwell, Eddie's doing a defensive job on Maxwell. He's got to draw the footy. He can't afford just to play on Nick Maxwell as a forward.
Jolly tapped it down. Wellingham kicks inside the forward 50 to space. Out in front is Blake. Awkward bounce. Blake leads back in the race, aided by Gwilt. So good last week. Stolen by Dawes. Dawes goes in, ricochets off the defender down there, and Fisher are behind.
We're almost 9 minutes into the game and St Kilda haven't had an inside 50 yet, so the game is definitely being played in Collingwood's half.
Can't get it forward. I mean, the lesson that St Kilda put into play in the second half was to try and kick the ball forward under intense pressure. Don't try and hand pass your way out of pressure.
So Goddard short to Gwilt. This is where they had a lot of problems early last week from the kick-outs. So Gwilt gets the ball to half-back. Revolt up the ground. Brown did well as an effective tap forward. Tim Watson on the boundary.
Just on the inside 50, St Kilda hasn't won an inside 50 count since round 21. So defensively, they've been able to stand up, but once again, they're under the pump.
That's a block. Kaczynski's free kick.
So you heard the
you ran
umpire.
straight at him and blocked him, Lee.
So against Lee Brown to Kaczynski. I wonder how much we'll see him in the ruck. He was very good in the second half. Concedes to D'Alessandro. D'Alessandro goes back again to Fisher. So often the playmaker to Blake. Blake at half-back. He started on Goldsack. Takes a while and then delivers. She raced it up well.
Have to mark it.
Clear it out. Play on.
Blair was bearing down. D'Alessandro left half-back. Two to choose from. Wants to draw a man. Now he'll pop it over the top. Well, Pete didn't do him any favours. Pete came at him late. And as a result, coming up, Turvey was able to take the mark on his chest. Comes down the broadcast side. Dawes been handy so far. Gwilt knocked it away. Jones over the football and hard to shift. Tackled by Wellingham. That ball's not releasing.
You dragged it into him. Sherrod, jump off him.
So he's saying Wellingham, I think, dragged it in.
Yeah, that was a strong contested mark in the middle from Farron Ray. If the ball had come to ground, Collingwood had opened up St Kilda's defence.
He's done two strong things in this opening term, Ray. That second half might have been...
No, again, Lee. Free kick, Jason Blake.
That second half might have been the making of him in some ways. We know he's a talent. But it was a big second half he played on Swan. So a couple of free kicks. In fact, some important free kicks for the Saints early when you think back to that opening one. So Blake off one step, kicks the ball to Revolt, pushed forward in the marking contest, Revolt, and Kaczynski got down low with Wellingham.
Now this is the problem that St Kilda have got. Collingwood really trying to orchestrate that free man. They're putting a lot of time into Maxwell and O'Brien with Eddie and Mick Walter, but it still frees someone up. It's been O'Brien at times, but at the moment it seems to be Ben Reid.
Brown struggling for the moment on the ball, taps it down that time. Jones under pressure, still no inside 50s. Could be one here though. Saints in control. Peake went to ground, comes back, gets it, tries to flick it across to Hayes. Hand pass came from Graham, kick from Jones. Getting back, Maxwell. Short, one to side bottom. Shaw is on. Shaw's got it now. Maxwell's peeled off. Here he comes. Takes the football, runs to the wing. Inside, Luke Ball. Gets a hand pass intended, I think, for Didak. Behind him was Brown. Wilt put the body in. That was terrific. Couple of times last week in key matchups, key situations. Wilt beat a couple. And again right there. And he wants to go on with it, Bruce.
Good on him. It's that sort of match, isn't it?
Yep.
And if you bear a grudge from a week ago, here's Goddard. No doubt.
It looks like Goldsack is trying to take the Fisher matchup, and as we can see, McWalter is sort of trying to take the... Or it's Eddie. No, they're swapping over then, and Eddie's now trying to take the Maxwell matchup. But you've got to stay with them. You can't play as a forward trying to read the footy.
Jolly laid it down. Jones fetching it though.
Just on the loose man in the defence for Collingwood, whether it's Maxwell or O'Brien. It's always going to be there because St Kilda have a spare man the other end. So basically what they're doing is they're saying, we'll back in Fisher, let them have Maxwell.
Jolly again wins the tap. Saints converge. Can't quite release the footy, and again I think it'll be a ball up.
So in that kind of tactical battle, it's a matter of which defensive forward does a better job. Is able to actually pick the time to play defensive forward and the time to be usable.
What a contrast in styles. 6 inside 50s to Collingwood, just the one to the Saints. Knocked out of there by Jolly. McAvoy flicked it across. Schneider ditto. Gave it to Goddard. Searching kick inside the forward 50. Getting a fist on it, Reed. Falls to Shaw. O'Brien on the assist. Gives it to Maxwell. He just stunts it back across the 50. Taken by Sidebottom. Now Blair is on. He'll have the football. Plenty of room to run. Blair. Left half back, kicks it up towards the wing. McCaffer comes to an awkward half volley. Kept his balance, McCaffer. Blair kept coming. Backs off. Blair under pressure. Chips short of half forward. Getting a fist on it, Fisher. And he puts it across the boundary line.
That was a good win, wasn't it, for Goldsack? He made Fisher come with him. Fisher did the spoil. Just the tactical battle. Both sides have gone with similar tactics they started the game with. I'm amazed that there wasn't more innovation from the lessons of last week.
Hayes caught underneath it, and Jolly over the top, and then Hayes lays the tackle. Graham, Sidebottom taps back cleverly to Pendlebury, to Johnson, who was squeezed up. I think he might have kept it in, though. McAvoy had to search for it. It was a high ball, and Collingwood getting a little kick forward from Didac to half forward. Cloak and Dawson. Here is Didac. That must have been Blair. Didac almost in a goal-scoring position for him. Goldsack, and then Goddard. So good again. Schneider through the heart of the centre, important ball. Shaw holds it up, and then Shaw, normally creative, asks a little bit of Lee Brown.
Brown, quick enough to release. O'Brien, barely the 15. Goldsack playing on the forward line at the moment. That's a good kick. Beams has got it just inside the 50. Johnson is on. Johnson's got it.
So Kilda got the same problem they had in the first half last week, one forward.
Yep.
If Greenwald doesn't get it, no one else is going to.
In answer to your question, Lee, I think Goldsack's playing that defensive forward a hell of a lot better for Collingwood than Eddie down the other end. I still think, I know it might be obvious, but Gilbert's probably the man again for St Kilda to do it.
Again, St Kilda looking exactly the same as they were in the first half of the first quarter last week. Too slow.
Huge kick this one. Ben Johnson runs to the 50. It's beautiful off the boot. How sweet it is.
See Ben Johnson on there. He received the ball from Tyson Goldsack. Tyson Goldsack is playing that defensive role on either Fisher or Gilbert, depending the way it unfolds, doing that far better than Eddie and McWalter down the other end of the ground.
What price that could now? Goldsack, Johnson, the opening 2 goals for Collingwood. So they get the early break. Swan out of the centre. Brown in a wrestling match with Fisher. They'd like that, Collingwood, having Fisher in a contest like that, Richo.
Yeah, both teams have the loose men back, as we're talking about, but the difference is Collingwood's ability to get on the spread and run forward and create options for them to kick to going inside 50. St Kilda can't spread as quickly.
Pendlebury was on his way, couldn't quite. Should be a free kick in the back against Baker. And this is good for Beams, getting hold of it a bit early. So good things happening for Collingwood at the moment. Slow kick though, and Goddard again, as he did last week in the opening turn, kept them in it in many ways, he and Fisher and Hayes. We haven't seen much of Hayes so far. Gwilt on the end of that from Montagna. A little bit of space now. Gwilt needs to use it. It was a strange selection actually going down the line, 2-on-1, and he had the loose man in Peake who was shorter, and now Wellingham runs away from Peake and then kicks into the heart of the centre square, and now Sidebottom can attack, comes out wide to Brown, 60 metres from goal.
Plays on immediately to Shaw. Here's a thumping kick, takes something off this though, bounces it down towards full forward. Off Dempster and across the line. Goddard leads all comers now with 7 possessions. Just picking up where he left off last week.
I think that was a sign of Collingwood's approach. When Sidebottom was in the middle, he came out to the half-forward flank. They're not going to drive the ball long to that area, 20 to 30 metres out, which is that bombing distance. I think that's the lesson Collingwood have learned from their approach early last week.
Wellingham was wonderful moments ago. Won a big ball on the outer side, outnumbered. High ball, over the top, Brown claims the mark will be paid.
It's great at backing himself in the air, Brown, isn't he? Really, especially from behind when he gets a clear side of the ball.
Collingwood again, don't have value for money, lead by 14 points. Kick inside the forward line. Dawson comes up.
That's the spot they can't kick it. If they kick it to that spot, St Kilda will intercept it. That's that they've got to learn, Collingwood.
Goddard, a sweeping hand pass, releases Montagna, takes on Cloak, high ball to the wing, 2-on-1. Brown over the top, knocks it down in front. Ball O'Brien's been busy. Back to ball, full-chested, lacking support, but knew where they were. Went back to Brown. Could have been taken high. No, free Del Santo. Well played, Hayes. Good walk. O'Brien.
First possession for Lenny Hayes.
It's a brick wall there at the moment, isn't it? O'Brien's floater into the centre, beat all comers. Baker had it stripped off him by Gilbert, actually, unintentionally, obviously, and then Baker couldn't find the footy, and Gilbert and Collingwood get a little win here. Oh, big win, actually.
A big win. Big difference there too, Bruce. They've been so clean, Collingwood. That time Baker a fumble, bit rusty.
Very early days, but I think Baker looks like that second up.
Side bottom wide to Shaw. And then Shaw goes to McCaffer. Now McCaffer's going short, but again the intention there, Lee, that you talked about, not to bomb, but to be precise with the kick going forward.
That means they're going to go wide a little bit, but they actually, certainly that area where Dawson marked that footy that was kicked in a minute or two ago, that's the area they've got to avoid with those long kicks.
60 metres out from Collingwood's attacking goal at the City end then. One down by Kazetsky. Pendlebury had it ricochet off his body. Dug out of there by Ray towards the wing. Knocked down by Reid, who kept coming. Thumps it. Not to the advantage of his teammates, though. Graham, Pete, now a chance. Opens up for the Saints. Gilbert into the path of Montagna. They've got men back. Rebold in the middle, calling for the football. Schneider, will he give it to Rebold? He will. Rebold runs in. Touched off the boot. Oh, my goodness.
Can you believe that?
Wonderful chase by Heath Shaw. He came up behind him like a librarian. He never heard him. No surprise, everybody else in the library is shouting. He's got the football.
That was as good a play as I've ever seen.
Steady.
That was impressive, Dennis.
I think the thing was Nick didn't have eyes in the back of his head. If he'd known he was there, he just would have gone back and kicked it from 3 metres out.
Tom, I remember Harley one day at Skills Stadium. Don't go off half-cocked.
Sure back, don't worry, Tom, we've written it down. So Reid out wide to Maxwell. Oh, what a moment lost for the Saints. And it was the captain who fumbled it in the end. But full credit to Shaw. Goldsack short to Maxwell. Collingwood have been feeling pretty good about themselves at the moment. Ball running hard. So Hayes quite early, ball getting a bit of footy. Goddard, a lot of football. Not a great kick, and Graham did well. Well, unfortunately and unluckily, I think, didn't get it paid. Side bottom banging. Thomas, not quite. Might get a second crack. McCaffer kicks the goal. They've kicked the first 3.
That's the head on the turf. It's a very hard thing when you go head first into it.
What a play that was. Rebold gets the goal at the other end. 8 points the difference. Now it's out to 19. McAvoy decisively. Who's there? Shaw. Just let the ball drop. In goes Hayes. And the umpire calls for it. Ball at the base of that.
Yeah, wonderful bit of play, no doubt about that.
It wasn't a fumble from Rebold. That was absolutely outstanding.
Team lifting stuff.
I didn't mean literally the fumble. I just meant making the wrong decision.
Yeah. It's not insignificant, this, to lose a player. You'd assume he'll come back on, but you doubt whether he'd be at the same, I guess, mental alertness that he would have been if he wasn't cussed.
Out of the congestion, Jolly launches towards half-forward. Dawes just rises, takes the easy mark. Everybody drifting back for Collingwood, but the kick is terrible. Schneider of St Kilda goes towards the outer side wing, just dropping it in short. Gilbert over the top to Hayes. They work a little 1-2 and free up Eddie. Eddie, the defensive side of the wing. That's a terrible kick. Rebold made it look okay. Comes back to Schneider. Schneider to Rebold, anxious to make amends. Not a particularly good kick. Now Reid, they can burst back. Rebound opportunity. Gave it to Thomas. Thomas comes out wide. Wellingham. Look at McCaffer run. McCaffer takes the mark 60 metres out. On the move is Cloak. And Cloak takes the mark. Will it be 50? I doubt it. So Cloak with the angle to open up for the left footer from the right full forward pocket.
Enormous work rate from young MacArthur to push basically from centre half forward right to the flank. Able to get the ball onto Cloak.
And Collingwood play the wings so well and play wide so
no surprise.
Productively, don't they?
Yeah, Collingwood's run early. Question is, so it's the goal or two. You get 4 or 5 goals in front.
Yep.
That just gets unmanageable even early.
So Cloak, that's not going to be a goal. Won't be a score. Across the face, McAvoy takes the mark. Well, we talk a lot about Saints footy, under the pump, maintaining structures, not panicking. You feel like they've got to a moment here, don't you?
Yep.
3 goals down, nothing much happening, pressure building, need to get the scoreboard ticking. Can they maintain their nerve? Because at the moment they're getting slaughtered here. Johnson probing, kick to Thomas. Del Santo put a hand up and then went off the ground. Important he doesn't fall over. McWalter, Jones, back inboard. McWalter again, running hard, Gilbert, wobbly kick, revolt, given no chance there, and Goldsack, for not the first time today, does something good for the Pies.
Now it opens up again. Pendlebury goes to half forward to the right at the centre circles. MacArthur's on to the far side, goes in that direction. Will it get there in time? Yes, it does. MacArthur. Well, they're just ripping the Saints to shreds everywhere, but on the scoreboard.
MacArthur's the sort of player that St Kilda would love at the other end, another target with a huge work rate that can also has the defensive values to put into the Collingwood defenders.
Number 26 in the 06 rookie draft. Not bad value there as he kicks inside the forward 50 off hands. Boundary throw in. 1:24 to go. Collingwood up by 19.
Just at the moment, Collingwood got the same problem they had. They've had 15 inside 50s for only 3 goals. I mean, so they've stopped St Kilda scoring, but they're not getting great score themselves.
Wellingham, and it's a boundary throw-in.
Isn't this so much like the first half of the first quarter last week? Collingwood have just running St Kilda off their legs. St Kilda look like they've got Rewalt or no one who's going to get the ball in their forward line. St Kilda are going to have to adjust a little earlier than half-time, I suspect, this week.
Well, the Saints were this margin behind during that first quarter. Collingwood were 4 goals to 1 at one stage. And then the Saints kicked those 2 late ones. Schneider, that very late one. Wellingham very good early here. Beams within range. Kicks to full forward. Holding his spot. Dawes was terrific, and then he legs Jones. But he's a strong man, Dawes. I mean, it took 2 to get him down. They are just hanging on, the Saints. I know it's early, but Collingwood are turning up the heat. Wide. Ray.
Nick Revolt and Nathan Brown, the only players in the forward half for St Kilda.
So Farron Ray in the back half, wanting Nick Revolt. Goldsack with him. McAvoy took an eternity. Back to Gilbert.
Runs the line, has a bounce, looks inside the forward 50, then goes short. Nobody inside the 50 for the Saints. Storming back is Peak. Revolt sends it long towards full forward. Bounces through for a behind. Well, effectively, they double their score. Johnson, meantime, whips it in, but I doubt they can go the length of the ground here. Pendlebury to Jolly, and that will do it. Jolly finishes up with a football. I know I said it last week, but no sign of the Jolly wobbles. And this is a replay. I can say it. Quarter time. Collingwood 3-2. St Kilda 2 behinds. Margin 18 points in the grand final replay. Collingwood fired up and firing. Quarter time in the grand final replay. It's 3-2-20 to 2 behinds. Goldsack, Johnson and McCaffer have got the goals. McCaffer's 7 possessions. Heath Shaw 7 possessions. And what about that smother on Nick Riewoldt running into an open goal? His centred ball had come in from Schneider. It seemed a goal for the taking, and suddenly out of nowhere Heath Shaw across his boot. Let's go down to Tim Watson now, who's got Stephen Silvani.
Well, Sauce, the backline coach earns his money at the St Kilda Football Club.
Yeah, well, look, you know, overall they beat us in all our indicators, and we were under pressure. Thought we probably steadied a little bit in that later part of that quarter, but certainly we're going to have to get moving.
You're going to have to get some penetration through the midfield too to give your forwards some opportunities.
Yeah, I think we only had 4 or 5 inside 50s that quarter, so you know we're going to have to give our forwards a bit of opportunity, so we can't play the game in our back half.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks.
Richo, can you tell us about the weather? I noticed both clubs went for the shade there at quarter time. We started the game with about 17 degrees. What's it like now?
Yeah, out in the sun, there's definitely a bit of bite in the heat, and both clubs are concerned about it. They brought their huddles right over into the shade in front of the members' grandstand here. For the Saints, I think they might have to make the move earlier than I thought. Gilbert has to go to half forward. They need someone there with a strong work rate that can attract the ball, because Nick Riewoldt is the only target at this stage.
Good on you, Matthew. So Collingwood lead it by 18 points. This time last week the margin was 6 points. Here's Bruce.
Good on you, Dennis. Swan, just the 3 disposals in the opening term. Stevie Milne didn't touch the footy in the opening term.
And that point that, Richo, it just seems so obvious that Sam Gilbert is now going to line up in the forward third for St Kilda. He did well in the second half last week, but I guess it was an element of let's not give Collingwood what they're expecting. But sometimes if you do it well, it doesn't matter what the opposition. Someone said once, if you can tell your opposition the game plan as long as you play it well.
And that's the important part of it, Nick Maxwell going to Sam Gilbert. From what I saw last week in the game, he knew his way around a forward line. He could attract the ball and again put on that pressure, defensive pressure on the Collingwood defenders.
So great start for Collingwood. The only good news for the Saints here, the last 3 teams to have goalless opening quarters went on to win the grand final. And they were all against Collingwood. Carlton in 70 and 79, Brisbane in 02. The Saints fans need something to hang on to right now. Not sure if that'll help. McCaffer went to ground. He had 7 disposals in the opening term. Blake down low. Peake and Didak. Peake trying to win the ball. Does manage to get it forward. Shaw overran. Here is Gilbert. And Hayes, who only had the 1 disposal in that opening term, to Gilbert. Well, he kicked his first goal in a final last week. He doesn't quite straighten it, but he's made an impact immediately.
Made things happen straight away. Still, Collingwood were able to orchestrate a 3-man behind the play, which was Heath Shaw. Gilbert was forced to leave Maxwell to push up on that, but he's got energy. He's got real intensity when he's around the football.
O'Brien, a driving kick, 3-on-2 favours the Saints. Shaw is up, realistic according to the umpire, close to the boundary line. Keeping it in, Baker, head down, slips a hand pass away. Hayes, intervention, brilliant there by Jolly. Got a timely hand on the football. Down goes Blair. It was Fisher who applied a strong tackle. In goes Hayes, and the umpire calls for it.
Just looking at matchups. To see the Shaw attempt here. Could have been a free kick, I reckon, but we're talking about the midfield matchups. It looks like perhaps Pendlebury is going to Hayes.
Left his message before the beep. Knocked down, taken now by Dempster. Nowhere to go.
Let him up.
Umpire Ryan calls for it again with a shade. Meets the sunlight.
Thank you.
It's a little bit of verbals going back to their positions after quarter time.
No, they're both antagonists.
It's been done before too. Where's Mick? Hurriedly onto the boot there from Pendlebury. Thomas finds a way through. Too nimble for McAvoy. Kicks inside the forward 50. Gwilt is the spare man.
Holding on the jumper.
He won't be required. It's going to be a free kick to Blake going against McCaffer. McCaffer has been dangerous on that forward line.
Thomas looked up and he saw Gwilt all alone, so he's able to give McCaffer a one-on-one. So Gwilt out wide. Schneider had a lot of the ball in the opening term.
This is the place where St Kilda don't spread as well as Collingwood. I mean, they've got to hold on to the ball, whereas Collingwood, when they get these plays and they get the ball on the move, got plenty of midfielders pushing the space.
So the slower the game, the better for the Saints, and the faster the game, the better for Collingwood. They bring it wide and slow, and they haven't gained any territory at all.
From a purely statistical point of view, they only play on from marks about 17% of the time, so this is their build-up. This is Saints footy.
It's a terrible kick coming out from Blake. He knows Tim Watson.
Lee talked about it earlier in the game about coming up second time round for Stephen Baker again in a ball right down in front of us here on the boundary line. He fumbled. He just doesn't have his normal short touch with the ball.
And speaking of that, St Kilda's disposal hasn't been great. A lot of miscues when they're controlling the football. Had 2 and 1 on the wing. Didn't make the most of it. Montagna goes looking for the champ. Knocked away from Revolt. In front, Dempster back to Revolt. High ball down towards half forward. Coming hard was Peak. Knocked away by Shaw. Here's trouble for the Magpies. Milne. Gilbert. Is he accurate this time? No. He's got the goal surrounded. He misses to the left.
Well, maybe should have just popped it onto Del Santo. I think St Kilda would have liked the ball in Del Santo's hand in that position.
You see Del Santo just to the screen. Yeah, just flick it across.
I think he went back to Shepherd.
So Johnson to himself, and then he runs his full measure. Thomas, that's a wonderful mark.
He's been good again, hasn't he, early? Really clean, really quick.
Hold there, Brent! Move it on! Play on!
Short, low, 2V. Gee, the umpires have been good on
Good common sense umpiring, isn't it? Yep.
Could have fallen for 50 there and didn't. That's an awkward kick by 2V. Wellingham. Brilliant opening quarter. Handball forward. Swan held his ground cleverly. Didak, Swan, Dempster, Swan. Wellingham with pace. Has to keep his head over the ball. He does and gets a free kick.
Got to watch his head. The reason Collingwood were able to win the ball back was they had numbers at the contest.
So Wellingham wanting side bottom and Fisher getting back. Now he's got Gilbert out wide.
Hasn't he changed the look of the game?
Yeah, absolutely.
Gilbert on the wing. O'Brien closing. Gilbert just gets boot to ball. Revolt the target. Well done by Brown. Gave a contest. Got him out of bounds.
He's really good when he gets there in the contest. Staying with re-roll's the problem. But when they're body to body, Brown's doing a good job.
Ruckman covering some ground here too. Goddard. Jolly just got there in the nick of time. Wellingham digs it out. Over the football ball. Could have been taken high. Weathered the storm. Did brilliantly. Side bottom so good last week. To half-forward doors. Now Didak is breaking. Ball comes across to Blair. Will it get to Didak? Oh, good work by Cloak. Didak is on. Didak goes in. There's no repeat of Shaw. He kicks the goal.
Good aerial shot, isn't it, really? Didak is just flowing forward. They had the 2-on-1. As long as the ball bounced nicely, which it did, and an easy goal. But they got behind the St Kilda defence. That was the key thing for Collingwood. They're just running power is on top.
Well, they were 22 points in front last week when Cloak had those couple of shots for goal. That's where they are at the moment. They've got there quicker this week. Pendlebury back inside 50. Side bottom. Started as he finished last week. He's playing so well. Dawson to Fisher, to Jones, deep in defence, to Del Santo, went without it, has to go back, taken by Brown, up and high, play on called, bounce off the back of Baker, Fisher, well done, Hayes, Ray under the pump, high tackle, it'll come back, 50, no.
Against Lee Brown.
Where the footy was, Brad. Free kick off the ball. Where the footy was. It's off the ball.
Lee's given a few away, not our Lee, but Lee Brown.
Yeah.
It's about his third.
So back it does come to Ray. Well, they need the next goal, and that is so obvious, but must get it here, St Kilda.
At half-time last week, the margin was 24. It took something special to get them back in. Ray towards half-forward. McAvoy, strong mark.
Taking a couple.
You'll flick it on to Goddard if you can.
Still inside the centre square, McAvoy. Del Santo gets it, but right idea anyway. Kicks inside the forward 50. Revolt, fingertips to it. Schneider wants his left side. Can't buy that dummy. Well done. Comes to Revolt out of bounds on the fall. Schneider almost got away. Stripped at the football. Collingwood get it back. 22 points the difference. Not halfway through the second term. Jolly outside the defensive 50. McAvoy in from the side. Brown gave a contest. Del Santo claimed. Ball up.
contest is not such a bad result for St Kilda if they can keep it in this particular pattern of play, slow things up a bit, playing to their hands.
Again, Thomas tries third man up.
Got to take your chance. Interesting, isn't it? It's 4 goals. 4 goals, 2, 6 scoring shots to 4. I mean, it's just St Kilda just not taking their chances at all.
Good tap by Brown, and then Swan chasing hard. So balanced. Revolt, Schneider, still with Schneider. Goddard tries to crash through. Ray's handball poor. Taken by Montagna. Gets a bit on it. It's a chance.
Speaking about taking their chances, Darren Jolly's actually come off at the moment, so Ben McAvoy's rucking directly against Lee Brown. If St Kilda can force the stoppage, you'd reckon that they'd be able to work their way out of it.
Short of himself, now he takes off, runs the boundary, gained about 35 metres, 2-on-1 on the outer side. In front, almost the ball taken by Baker. The cavalry arrive quickly. Fisher jams it on the boot. Shaw again, though. Kept running. Shaw held up that time by McAvoy. Jarred out of there, knocked by Gilbert. Back towards Dempster. Dempster comes to Goddard alongside the centre circles. Sends a high ball back towards half forward and McAvoy. But he won't get there in time. Side bottom, drifting back. Beams is running hard. Will he be used? It'll go to him now. Beams stretches. Oh, that was a golden opportunity missed.
Don't you get the impression with St Kilda, they've got half a dozen players they don't really want the ball with. They've got just half, like Goddard players like that are their offensive players. But there's a few that just can't do anything with the footy.
So here is Goddard.
Been fantastic again.
Yeah, hasn't he?
To Ray, and then now Del Santo. Stopped and propped. McWalter was touched off the boot. Kosicki with a fumble. Cozzy looks so slow at the moment, doesn't he? Tuvey cut off. Del Santo, not a great handball. Kosicki actually handballs beautifully back to Collingwood. Now Fisher down low to Dawson. Now here's a chance for a switch. Now Pete can run. He'll get it now. Gilbert is on.
Can he kick the goal?
Well, Gilbert's had 2 shots for goal in this quarter and missed them both. And that one, he's missed again.
Get the post.
I'll tell you what, Sam Gilbert's work rate has just been enormous. You wonder how long he can keep up that intensity of running. He had a huge game last week from a work rate point of view. Again, running himself into the ground.
Beautiful kick finds too. What was Blair thinking moments ago? Just went halfway and neither one thing nor the other. Saints with the football on the outer side. Plenty of numbers. Ray back inside the forward 50. Working at the back there was Johnson. Coming across on the angle is Gilbert. Playing a lone hand on the forward line. And that's saying something because Nick Riewoldt is down there. We've got a boundary throw in.
But now they've got 2. They've got Riewoldt who's making himself a target and Gilbert who's making himself a target.
Hasn't had a break yet, Sam Gilbert. 39 minutes of the total game time.
Right full forward. Brown. Riewoldt does the ruck work. Came wide of the pack. Over the football. I think it's ball in there. And we'll have a ball up.
Tim, down to you.
Well, Graham's still on the bench. We saw him crash heavily in the first quarter. He hasn't even stood up. He hasn't even gone for a bit of a run. So you've got to think at this stage they're down to 3. It's a warm day. That's going to be really difficult for the Saints.
Riewoldt over the top. Remembering they played with 1 short last week for much of the match again, with Gardner out of action just before half-time. Thomas, Didak, just thinks his way through things. Wellingham, Del Santo gets involved with Dempster in his 5th grand final, along with Schneider. 5 grand finals in 6 years with the double up this time.
We're into the next phase of the game now. That first initial speed has come off the game. Now it's a much more brutal, almost hand-to-hand combat.
Magpie's a little too cute there. That's got to be a free kick. Not sure what page Lee is on today.
Just here.
That's 4 against Lee Brown.
Trying too hard to get the knockout. Sometimes as a ruckman, you just got to make sure you compete, but giving away free kicks, that's the worst thing.
I think that's his job, as his name would imply, just muddy the waters as the ball goes across to Fisher.
Here we go. 50-metre shot.
That's it.
The game is in their half. It's been in the Collingwood half, the St Kilda half of the ground for the past 5 or 6 minutes. Must capitalise.
Coming up for his 12th possession. Of course, the game played very much on defenders' terms if they play for the Saints. But having said that, I mean, last week at times it appeared as if it turned up at the Collingwood team meeting. They were kicking it to him. This time a teammate has kicked it to him. 52 metres out, gets underneath it. Oh, my goodness. 7 straight behinds for St Kilda.
And the irony in all of this is that Collingwood's accuracy has been a talking point all year, hasn't it?
They've got 2 rush behind Collingwood, so they kick 4 shots at goal for 4 goals.
I just feel that that's going to be vital at the end of this match. The match last week that ended up being played in centimetres, wasn't it? Shaw's kick again, and Thomas
squeezing the boundary.
Can I say it, Dennis, that kick?
Yes, please.
Centimetre perfect.
Special, Bruce.
So Tuvey running, drawing. Maybe not a good idea for McCaffrey. He's back sore suddenly. Down low. Well done by Ball. He started really well. And then Thomas under pressure. So the Saints have had a good little patch. They just can't get a goal.
Yep. You almost sensed that ball was going to be kicked out of bounds eventually from the pressure. Started with the Hayes tackle. He's starting to will himself back into the game.
Inside 50s 2 this quarter for Collingwood, 8 to St Kilda. So we know St Kilda are getting within scoring distance.
So Gwilt forced to kick high, asked to play on. Ray front spot, Revolt's got it. 60 metres out.
Goddard's deep.
Wheels around. This is Goddard's spot. He's got it. It's a free kick.
Serious good play by Goddard.
Oh, he's a special player, isn't he?
He saw that Maxwell had the position. He pushed back hard. And when he pushed into Maxwell hard, that's when just an incidental high contact. Let's have a look at this. He pushes back, just the arm across the shoulder. He certainly made it seen. Well, I guess it was there.
This is the ultimate test, because this guy doesn't miss, and they have been missing all day. Nah, he gets it. They needed it, and the right bloke at the right time.
Brendan Goddard, he has been drifting forward this quarter, and it was the first time they've been able to get it to him one-on-one. Every time he's gone forward, Nick Maxwell has gone with him. In fact, now he's going with him all over the ground.
After 43 minutes, it was like wetting for Goddard. The hand pass comes across there, taken by Graham from Hayes, but Blair with the outside of the boot. Gwilt had it knocked away, not paid. Down goes Beams, kept it alive. Swan went to ground. Terrific by Dawson. Gwilt under pressure. Jones the fumble. Didak so dangerous. He misses. Barely scored a behind Alan Didak.
Oh, there's a handful of St Kilda players. They're in the game, but there's a handful of St Kilda players that just have been fumbly at ground level. Jones, Baker, just a couple to name a few. Just their ball handling under pressure, just a little bit sloppy.
So Goddard to Blake.
How many Goddards are there?
They might have to take the "ard" off the Goddard, I reckon.
I think so.
Back he goes again to Gwilt. Now Gwilt's got Dempster on. Been able to get this going a bit, the Saints, is Lucy. Now Graham running hard. So Graham back on the field. A moment ago he handballed to a Collingwood player, so I'm not sure how clear the head is, but he's taken the mark. This is a big win for the Saints if they can get him back into the match, and obviously he's out there now, kicking it to about 60 metres. Revolt was at the back of Gilbert, ball down low. Tuvey with a bit of pace, held up though. Blair did very well to Johnson, released him on the right side, his left.
Yeah, look short, good.
To Maxwell, and then Maxwell the long kick. Swan running hard. It's a behind.
Now, Nick Maxwell did exactly what the opposition players should do to him. He's playing on Brendan Goddard. Brendan Goddard tried to drop back and fill the space, but he drew the ball.
Dane Swan just 4 possessions so far. That one tantalisingly close. McWalter short of half back. Hayes has to wait. And in the hands of the trainers on the outer side, Tuvey breaks free of them now. Meantime, Hayes plays on. Comes across the ground in the shadows, Blake. Short one. Here's Graham. Graham off his step, Del Santo, 60 metres out. Del Santo good with the football in his hands, and that's beautiful. Bounces though off the chest of Milne. Knocked down by Shaw, taken by Sidebottom. Grabbing the football with Schneider, went to ground, knocked away by Beams, taken by Dempster, tackled by Shaw. Close to the boundary line, Sidebottom. Sweeping hand pass forward, well worked. Around the outer side they come. Thomas just loops it over the top. He got it from Reed. Kicks it up towards the wing. Wilt steadfast again. Gets a hand pass away to Jones. Taken by Hayes. Front on. Had it a long time. Maxwell claimed him. Free kick Collingwood. No play on's the call. Wilt comes back. Pete's got it.
Has to make a decision now. Does he go the long kick? He had Montagna short. He went the wrong way here. And the bouncing ball. Jolly's onto it. Still Jolly. Well, this is costly. McCaffrey kicks his second.
Have a look at this ball that bounced in front of the ruckman. The oval ball over his head. Couldn't lay the tackle. Now it's an easy goal to Collingwood. The defensive mistakes, that was costly for St Kilda.
Well, if you want a snapshot of this game, 2 goals in the term for Collingwood, both from the goal square. That's how it's being played. Jolly decisively. Pendlebury swings it down towards half forward, side bottom, lets it bounce, runs onto it. Thomas is on, uses him as a decoy, comes back to the middle, and Jolly! That was a terrific mark. The big guy had to change direction. Went back and found the footy, and it stuck.
This is exactly what we know Darren Jolly's capable of.
Forward.
Centre clearance, it's actually 6-zip in favour of Collingwood at the moment. Pendlebury was the one who got it out, but Darren Jolly knows his way around the forward 50. McAvoy has to be aware of that. Pretty important couple of minutes.
Remember the second half last week when Kosicki was rucking, Jolly was chasing him.
Yep.
But right at the moment, McAvoy is just getting into defence, and Jolly plays that well.
What an acquisition he's been. From Melbourne to the Swans to Collingwood. This one is working back. It's beautiful.
He's Collingwood's only premiership out there, having played for the Swans in his first year. This is the biggest margin in either of the 2 matches. They're out to 27 now.
And the first of those goals was a bad St Kilda error, so all of a sudden that tests the composure of the Saints.
So Jolly won the tap a moment ago and then kicked the goal. So forward they go. It was a toe poke from Pendlebury. And now Swan to side bottom, goes inside. Goldsack's already kicked one. Back to side bottom, hip and shoulder by Dempster. Del Santo on the wrong side for him, but he is skillful. Montagna, free kick to Wellingham, not paid. Ball comes back from Tuvey, back to Wellingham. Oh, that's out on the foot.
That's testing it.
Thanks, Jared. That's a mark.
Dominating the centre clearance at the moment, Collingwood at 7-zip, and it's starting to translate into scoreboard. It doesn't always happen that way, but you get the sense that they're really dominating that part of the ground.
And you get the sense if Collingwood get the next goal, good luck, Saints.
Yeah, Saints were lucky twice there, back to back. Half chances, not quite materialising as far as Collingwood were concerned. So Fisher, deep in his own defensive area. Backs to the wall in more ways than one. Drives it to the outer side, clears the pack. Peake arrives, hand passes into the oncoming Thomas. Thomas dances, gives it across to side bottom, kicks to the 50, Blair, feeds it back, hard against the boundary line, Shaw, over the top, cloak almost, goes after it, conceding it behind was Dawson. And who could say there was no pressure there? They're swamped with pressure, St Kilda. It's coming out of their ears.
So Goddard, Del Santo, Goddard, Montagna off one step to Graham. Got to think their way through this, the Saints, don't they? Wide, Revol, has to half volley it, and then almost ran into Dempster. Back, Montagna. They are on the back foot as they were last week a lot. Peake having a poor first half. Goldsack back to Pendlebury, having a very good first half. Gwilt terrific.
You can just see now the minds are willing, but the bodies are they're starting to be mistakes because there's that slight little bit of fatigue. It's got to be there earlier in today's game than it is in your normal grand final, let alone last week's.
Another goal, and you get the feeling the Saints will be on their knees, and Collingwood trying everything at the moment to force the issue. Graham out of the congestion. Kosicki was tackled. Over the football is Hayes. He's taken the ground. Deadlock. And the Collingwood supporters even like that.
Thank you, mate.
Down towards left half forward. 6-5-1-7. The 7th goal could be the tipping point. Brown taps it down. Goddard heard the voice, went to Hayes. He hand passed across towards Ray. Had it for a long time.
Jared Blair.
Heard the umpire. Max Hudson in black and white. He was the story in the grand final last year for at least a week. After the grand final, this man was. Luke Ball on the wing, short to Johnson.
Collingwood can afford just to slow the game down. What are we at? Just under 4 minutes to go. They can control the tempo of the game, just reserve a bit of energy because they'll need it in the second half.
So Johnson hugging the line. He had a couple of players loose, but they were a long way away on the other side. Dawes, is it paid? No. Might have been a bit stiff. Wellingham getting through brilliantly, but not a great handball. Montagna just pushing the ball forward down the line. Reid, well done to Ball. Ball looks up. Can he deliver? He kicks to 50 metres. Cloak was held onto for a moment, and Baker comes across and takes the mark. Reid's hurt himself by the look of it.
Rolled his ankle in the tackle there, I think, Bruce.
Ooh, that's big. Brown. The pinch hit Ruckman comes on to be a key defender, at least for the moment. High ball in the Brown direction. That's pretty good. Thumped it forward. In front, Jolly cast in the role of a rover. Cops it up, though. Del Santo. She had it a long time. McAvoy looked like the old 360 Lee. McAvoy is tackled by Didak. Umpires let them play and play and play. McAvoy goes across towards Graham. He's confronted. That's your opinion. We'll have a ball up 60 metres out, Tom Harley.
Great umpiring, Dennis. Just let it go. You know, there's some fantastic one-on-one contests out here, and they've just wheeled it through, and the umpires adjudicated that a treat.
The grand final ambassador always says the right thing, doesn't he?
Yes.
But it was terrific stuff. Peak down low. Thomas, well played Thomas against the odds. Kazicki, well, too slow to move. Didak, then Hayes to Dawson. No time and space. Back inside, Dempster and Eddie. Oh, gee, Hayes threw Didak there. Unlike Lenny.
Serious stakes here, Bruce.
He must
serious stakes here.
Again.
I reckon he said to Lenny, I reckon Brendan deserved that Norm Smith last week. I think Lenny did plenty, don't you? Hayes in hard. And again, it looks like being a ball up.
Oh, it's going to have to be physical. Yeah, just both the big players for St Kilda, Kazicki and McAvoy, when the ball's at their feet, they're almost no value. And that's just the Achilles heel for St Kilda compared to Collingwood.
Rucks go at it, knocked down by Jolly. Ball, hand passes Goldwood. Leading back is Dawson, needs to be clean and was. Dempster, Gwilt. Gwilt the high ball towards the wing. All Collingwood, needed somebody on the ground. Well, too slow there was Del Santo. The umpires have put the whistle away on holding the footy. Upended his ball, and the ball's gone out of bounds. The two 12s, the two mates, and they're at it.
Jesus,
nobody can be trusted.
Some shadow boxing going on out there at the moment.
Move it on. Play on.
So off one step, Del Santo. It's a free kick.
Free kick off the ball. Got out, free kick. Got out.
So I think against Maxwell. Now Montagna running hard. 60 metres out. Centering kick. Big fly came from Jolly. She's played a quarter Jolly, hasn't he?
Good play by Kazicki to get in there and be the target. Great defensive ruck work by Jolly. Often said ruckmen don't usually defend as well as they attack, but that was terrific by Jolly.
You feel like Gardner's being missed now, don't you? I mean, a fit Gardner, I know that's hypothetical stuff, but Jolly having a huge impact. Eddie brought down by Goldsack. Beams has to go backwards. Shaw. Schneider. Brilliantly done, Schneider. And then a high ball, it's all Collingwood. And Swanee, who's had a quietish first half, takes the mark.
Speaking about Darren Jolly, Collingwood have been able to orchestrate that spare man behind the play all day, but they're doing it with a ruckman this time, so slightly less conventional than they have in the past.
Probably because Reid's off the field.
Yeah, that'd be it.
Clock running down to half-time inside the last minute. Pendlebury drives it outside the defensive 50. Saints have to kick a goal here. Del Santo feeds it back. Goddard slips it away. Gwilt has it. 30 seconds to go. Centering kick. It's all Saints. They queue up. And Eddie takes the mark directly in front. Schneider is on. He'll go to Schneider. And Schneider is marked about 30 metres out.
Well, he's got a good record in grand finals. He always kicks at least one, Schneider. He's kicked 5 goals in his 4 grand finals before today. Eddie, well done to Schneider. Well, we often say, Lee, these are big kicks. Well, this is massive.
They've got to take every shot, St Kilda. They don't like getting a lot of them.
So it's half-time here at the MCG. Not going to come back. And the Saints are 1 goal late at half-time in the big game against Collingwood, 6 goals 5. So it was 24 points last week. Today, it's 27. Can the Saints come back again? It's 41-14 in the grand final replay.
Half-time in the grand final replay, and the Magpies on top. They lead 6-5-41. St Kilda 1-8-14. McCaffer with 2 goals. Ball enjoying himself, having a ball. 14 possessions, side bottom. Another great game today. He was terrific last week, 14 possessions. Goddard has been quite outstanding with 19. So many highlights in the first half with the boys again to dissect what has happened. And let's begin with perhaps a point that steeled Collingwood. The run back by Heath Shaw, throwing himself across the boot of the St Kilda skipper.
I think I actually declared this the best bit of play I've ever seen, and I'll stand by that. He's come from a long way back. He's actually taken the ball off Nick Revolt's hands before he's had a chance to get the ball. Went down the other end, so it was a double whammy for Collingwood.
It was a fantastic effort. That was a goal that was denied. Great morale for Collingwood, shocking for St Kilda.
And the courage of Nathan Brown to actually leave Riewoldt, just knowing that someone was actually going to try and put some pressure on Riewoldt. It was just fantastic play all round.
Now what about Scotty Pendlebury? He's never had 30 possessions against the Saints. He's well on the way this afternoon. He's having a blinder.
Yeah, he's at the 13 possessions. I reckon he's doing a bit of a run with job, not a strict tag on Lenny Hayes. He's got the numbers up on Hayes at the moment. His work in the clearance has been great. Collingwood are dominating the centre clearances, and Scott Pendlebury's one of the reasons why.
If you get the centre bounce clearances, just so dangerous for defence, aren't they? That St Kilda defend really well when the ball's in motion, but when it comes forward from the centre, your defence is completely unpositioned.
And Pendlebury leading the way, just around the stoppage. His direction, looking from above, his direction has just been outstanding all the first half.
Fair to say 27 points though, guys, not insurmountable.
One of the things that Ross Lyon said early in the game, we want to have 110 tackles. Remember that 100 last week? They've had 34 at this point. So their pressure to actually nail Collingwood when Collingwood get their hands on the footy, that's really going to be struggling at this point. It's going to be even harder in the second half, I reckon.
History often says that a grand final tosses up some unsung heroes. Brent McCaffer has been quite outstanding with 2 goals to the break and their most lively forward.
You get the feeling that he's one of Mick Malthouse's favourite players, and you'd love to see a McCaffer at the other end of the ground. He has a huge work rate across the flanks. He almost sort of orchestrates the way Collingwood bring the ball into their forward 50 by leading to the flanks, provides a lot of forward pressure, lays a lot of tackles. He's been one of the shining lights for the Pies today.
I think when we saw that last McCaffer goal from the St Kilda turnover across halfback, that was a critical goal because St Kilda had a bit of control of the game at that point.
They certainly did. The first 12 minutes of the second quarter, the Saints wrestled back, only converted 1 goal, but that was a critical turnover without a doubt.
So what are the moods in the respective rooms as we take a look below stairs, if you like? The margin 27 points at half-time, so much to play for. Collingwood on top, and I dare say they're daring to dream, but they can't dream too much. 27 points, more half-time activity right after this.
I'm sick of this. I wanna know what it is. I've got my head.
It was the find of the century, but something should stay buried.
Half-time in the grand final replay, Collingwood lead by 27. This is the second lowest half-time score St Kilda's in 80 years in grand finals. Collingwood kicked a single goal in 1960 against Melbourne, and the bad news, they only got 2-2 for the match. So much to do for the Saints. Let's have a look at Jason Graham, who looked as if he was down and out, but he did come back and got some disposal, so at least they're not going to be a rotation down, we feel.
He had some influence when he came back on. You just see, I think he's actually hit the side of his head, his temple really flush on the ground. Looked underdone last week. He only had the 11 possessions. He's one of those guys that can provide plenty of rebound, but as I said, he actually contributed when he came back on the ground, which is a bit of a plus for St Kilda.
Looks like he'll be okay, even though he was off the ground for that 20 minutes or so.
And Brad, they played the Gilbert hand a bit earlier today. Now, he had 3 shots on goal in that second quarter.
He did, yeah. Played down in defence in the first quarter. Start of the second quarter, goes forward and had an impact. 2 shots, could have kicked 2 goals. Easy sort of misses, I suppose. But at the end of the day, he is still having an impact, and he is working very, very hard as a forward and a utility right across the ground.
I would have really liked to have seen that done earlier. I think Wilt is a player who's really elevated his game in the big games in particular, and he's doing the role that Gilbert plays down back. So he provides the perfect. Gilbert, I talk about, provides the perfect role for Nick Riewoldt.
Well, they're getting nothing out of Cozzy or McAvoy when they're not rucking. I mean, at the moment, as forwards, they're just looking too slow when the ball hits the ground and they're not marking it.
And Lee, you'd love the luxury of Goddard being able to go forward a bit more. He's done so much in this first half, but they still trail by 27.
Well, he's been magnificent, though. They look like they've tried to get 2 beyond him at different stages, but his ability, he's been the one St Kilda play, I reckon, that just come up this week at this point of time. And he's been all over the field. But, yeah, they'd like a 2 or 3 of him, I think.
Just has a great balance in his game. He's had the 19 possession, half of which have been contested. He gets half his rebounds and they match up to his inside 50s. He plays it all. I mean, you can argue a case he's the best player on the ground again, Brad.
Oh, without a doubt. He's been outstanding. And for me, it was the intensity you've seen in the interviews before the game. That's the focus that Goddard's had the last 2 weeks, and that's why he's performing at the top level on grand final day.
Well, we were here last week, they were 24 points down. We know what happened. The job all in front of them here. And it doesn't finish the season with the grand final replay. We've got the international rules not that far away.
Tim Watson is down on the boundary. Tim, what news on Ben Reid?
Well, he hasn't reappeared yet, Dennis. Now, we watched him at half-time. We both went down, Richo and I both went down to watch St Kilda and Collingwood come back down the race at half-time. He was 5 minutes after the Collingwood players. He was with one of the medicos. He actually looked okay. There was no heavy strapping. There is some suggestion it might have been his knee. It looked to me that it was his ankle. There's a little bit of strapping around his ankle. But at this stage, he still hasn't reappeared out on the ground. So I guess you've got to say that he's doubtful in the second half.
Okay, Richard, the margin was 24 points at halftime last week. It's 27 currently. I'll ask you the same question. There's a replay. What do the Saints need to do to win?
Well, that's right. Last week, Ross Lyon put a rabbit out of the hat. He put Sam Gilbert forward, and it changed the whole dynamic, got them back into the game. This week, not as simple. He's already tried that, and Gilbert actually played well, but just missed those 3 shots at goal. If I was Ross Lyon, I just asked for a lift from some of my senior players, namely Del Santo and Montagna in the midfield to get some run and overlap, give the forwards a chance, and then hopefully Riewoldt and Milne can take a hold of those chances.
And I suppose it's a fair question too, Lee. Second week in a row, if they concede the first goal here, the Saints, they're over 5 goals down. Such a tough game last week, tough first half today. Can they get back into it?
Well, I think probably no is the answer. No, partly think of that because their energy level in their tackle count is so low that I think when Collingwood are winning the ball, they were able to break clear of the St Kilda pressure. Certainly, it's 9 scoring shots to 11. So in that regard, St Kilda are certainly in the game. But hauling back a 29-point margin, that's going to be a massive ask.
Your thoughts, Tom?
Yeah, look, I agree totally with Lee. I think the flow of the game is with Collingwood. I can't see St Kilda really breaking down that wall every time they've gone forward. Gilbert's been important but hasn't been effective. He's also played every minute of the game so far alongside with Nick Riewoldt, so you'd have to suggest they're going to tire as the game goes on.
Heard you talking at half-time about Brendan Goddard, 19 possessions, possibly the best man on the ground from both teams. But I tell you what, there's a story brewing as well with Luke Ball, 14 possessions to half-time. What about a Norm Smith for Luke Ball? Wouldn't that be strange? Not strange, he's played terrifically well, but the irony would not be lost around this ground.
No, it would not. No, I think he probably has to find a little bit more, but certainly side bottom is interesting. A player that is not regarded necessarily as one of the top levels, but he's been terrific.
Yep, again this week after fine performance last week. Started the second half of the MCG. Bounce favours Jolly. Not a lot of the ball, but he's been good. Slaps it down. Kazitsky emerges with it, hooks it to half forward. Revolt takes the mark, lays it off. Schneider lines up. Hit the post again. That is about their third or fourth poster. Make it 3. Schneider was through. That would have been the start. Shaw comes away. Couple of bounces. Short of the wing. Del Santo works in front. Knocked across the boundary line by Schneider. Deliberate. Oh, that's a tough call. That was a contest. Don't know what you're supposed to do. Not go for the ball.
So here's your man, Den. Ball in the back half. So Schneider's kicked a couple of points. One at half-time and one just after. Goddard. Looks like Swan might be running with Goddard, which is interesting. Swan only 7 disposals in the opening half. Goddard 19. Jones had to wait. Swan brings him down. Certainly he went to Goddard, didn't he, in the centre square?
We'll watch that one unfold. He did track him pretty aggressively.
Thanks,
to see the deliberate out of here.
It's a bounce.
Not sure you'd punch it deliberately out of bounds in your front half, but anyway.
So it's a free against Kazitsky to Jolly, and now to Didak, and Didak gets some space and kicks to Dawes. Big strong man Goddard got back. Gwilt terrific. Brown was lumbering in, still lumbering Brown, and gets a little kick away. Goldsack back. Pendlebury, ball, left foot, won't be a score obviously. 30 metres outdoors at the back. Brown again, and then toe pokes it forward. Thomas running onto it and running it over Del Santo.
He's been tackled, throw it in.
And that says it all.
Well, how many match minutes can they get out of Kazitsky in the ruck? Because he has to be the player, I think, that provides the impetus for St Kilda.
Cloak tries to hook it down behind. Milne's got the football. Brown's got him. Finished high.
2 steps. One more step and it would have been prior. One more step.
Wow.
You reckon that's why it's called the anvil? That was a bone-crunching hit from Lee Brown.
Jolly looking for Thomas. He's been workmanlike again today. Jolly out of the congestion. Wanders down towards the pocket. Back goes Goddard. Well, now that is an interesting call.
He's allowed to go and pick it up.
He's allowed to pick it up.
Good call.
Oh, yeah, good enough.
I reckon these umpires have made good commentators, don't you? Tap from Jolly, Montagna and Jolly. Jolly trying to wrest it away. And then Kazitsky. Stevie Milner was tapping him under. Still without a kick in the match.
Thank you.
He'll thank you, Bruce.
Well, he's had to play too deep, unfortunately.
Well, he's up and round this stoppage, actually. Sometimes they just they're 1 or 2 forward shorts in Kilda, I think, in the game itself.
Jolly had a second crack, and then Johnson, Jones. Goddard's hands were good. Kazitsky getting involved. Schneider on hands and knees. Ball started really well here to Thomas, and then Daisy goes and kicks it just across the face for a behind. You do feel we are 1 goal away from something, don't we?
Gee, they wouldn't let it out, would they? They were fanatical, Collingwood. There's Fisher just taking the sting out of things in the back pocket to Gwilt.
As the boy said, forward line is your first line of defence. Collingwood take that to a new degree.
That was wonderful pressure. Here's Dempster, opposite back pocket. Cacophony of sound out of the back pocket. Kicks outside the defensive 50. Shaw will fly, get a fist on it. He had to do that. All Collingwood in front. Pendlebury, Dawes from behind, hit the pack hard. Hayes looking to find a way through, went to Dawson, hacked out of midair. Dawes! Oh, that is Dawson!
The number of Collingwood jumpers, it was just a hat kick out of the air, as we know, but there's so many Collingwood jumpers. Every time a St Kilda defender gets the ball in his back 50, there is a Collingwood player laying a tackle.
Well, the chant on the roar has started.
It will be now.
5.5 goals.
No, not 15.
Willingham forward.
No, not 15. Next go, straight away.
There's the St Kilda bubble about to be burst.
Play on.
They need a big third quarter from this point on. Collingwood doing the attacking, doing the scoring. Didak's little kick forward to Goldsack. Wanted to load it up, then did the team thing. Side bottom off one step. At the back, Cloak. Nearly Cloak. Goddard, wonderful from the front.
Goddard's kicking it in, that's good, but he needs to be kicking it to himself, doesn't he? I mean, he needs a target to bring it out of here. St Kilda are struggling with him. It's going to be a long one.
Decision making. So Goddard goes long. O'Brien and Koschitzky. O'Brien front spot.
And pass came from Schneider. Now Fisher runs it up. Revolt is dropping back. Brown peeled off him. Wins the battle again.
Won the battle early there, made contact with Nick Revolt early just to get him off guard, and then as a result could dictate the play.
And Fisher couldn't carry it any further. He had to kick it off a few steps.
Johnson, too nimble, runs away. Jolly is on in the middle. Well, falls short of that. Coming up is Blair. Delusions of adequacy from the little man. Taken by Graham, only as far as Johnson. Now it opens up. He kicks it down towards half forward. Here comes Swan. Needs a deflection. Still going, Swan. Laid it down into the path of Dawes. Tries to slap it on. Gathered by Goddard. Playing his heart out. Taken is Jones. Beams. High ball. In front, McCaffrey. Surely. No free kick. Wilt. Tackled by Swan. Scramble. Brown applies a strong tackle. Down goes Ray. He's pumping away in there is Lee Brown.
It's actually almost been a blessing in disguise. Ben Reid is off because they're able to play Lee Brown and Darren Jolly on at the same time, and both can have real impact on the game.
Hayes, third man up. Willingham roads it and kicks the goal.
You just watch here, Jared Wellingham just able to stand off the contest, then hit it at speed. The St Kilda players look like they want to be stagnant around the stoppage. Collingwood allowed to run through with leg speed and break it open, and that's the key to the game for the second half. It looks all Collingwood.
Back in the middle. Koschitzky up very high, hooks it down, but once again Collingwood on the burst. Swan gives it to side bottom, was looking for Blair, gets his own ball, slips it away, head down Baker, taken by Blair, opportunity for Ray. Goddard strongly tackled, put to the ground by Dawes. Over the top the hand pass came from Del Santo. In the road there was Jolly. To the ground goes Pendlebury and a ball up. Collingwood now are surging, and it's starting to look as if a 44-year-old Hunger is about to be put on the waiting list. Coming away, Ray goes towards the outer side. Race into O'Brien and Peake. O'Brien tackled, hasn't got the footy, will get the throw. Let's get out of 10.
So O'Brien gallops away from Peake and then delivers to full forward. Swan waiting, Wellingham from the side. Swan's going to kick a goal. They're home, you would think. I know it's a long way to go, but they're killing them now.
It's been a fantastic move to get Swan towards Goddard. I mean, Goddard's still been good, but all of a sudden Swan's now starting to find his way into the game after a slow first half.
Well, it is like a tsunami now. Saints footy is being unravelled in front of our very eyes. No trick to be pulled out the hat, you would think, at this point. Just got to get their hands on the ball and get it forward. They do it this time. Montagna, two half forward. Koschitzky and Maxwell, and Shaw belts it away. Every little thing a Collingwood player does from this moment on will be cheered just like that.
Moments ago was Bruce Gould, wonderful by Shaw. Up against the big body of Koschitzky. Took him on, boundary throw-in, clears the pack. Jones at the back, slips a hand pass away. Fisher drives it long down towards full forward. Collingwood lead in the race from all directions. Maxwell commits, left the ball behind. Well done, O'Brien, taken high. Harry O'Brien to get the free kick. And Harry O'Brien determined today to emulate his footy hero, Michael Long, to win a premiership. I doubt he'll win a Norm Smith, but he's been very good. Comes away. What a telling kick that is, onto the chest of Thomas.
What we'll see now, Lee, is your term, I guess, the hope and energy sort of thing, because the hope's probably really dwindling for St Kilda. They just need to maintain the energy.
Thomas down the line. Nearly Brown. McAvoy did well. And then Gilbert. Well played, Brown. Wellingham, clever. Boundary throwing.
Yes, you find it's the fighting spirit of St Kilda. That's all they've got. The mind might still be willing, but the body will be struggling. But the Collingwood energy levels, now that they've got a 46-point lead, is going to be hard to overcome, sure.
McAvoy tries to lay it down. Eddie gets hold of Swan. Hayes, well done, Johnson. Ricochets off, though. Hayes and Eddie down low. And I think we'll have it again.
Swan.
Okay,
free kick off the ball against Hayes. Playing off the ball.
So like Collingwood, Swan surging in the third quarter, isn't he?
Yep. Lenny Hayes just 11 possessions. There's Maxwell. Goes down towards half forward. It almost been a free to cloak. Didak. He's feeling it, Didak. Still is going, Didak. Pushed across the line by Quilt. There's something special about Alan Didak.
Just see Nick Riewoldt on screen at the moment. He's got to provide that hope. He's got to just generate some real enthusiasm for his charge. If he's not feeling it himself, he has to really have some really strong self-talk to project a positive self-image.
Brown knocked it down. Thomas. Oh, Swanee.
They're getting a lot of the ball in the second half, Swan. So Reid back onto his old foe and Kajicki.
Just no movement from St Kilda at the moment.
Gwilt. McAvoy and Riewoldt the target. Belted forward. Brown involved. Didak again. And then Jones forces him over.
It's interesting in terms of perseverance. Jones has gone onto the Didak matchup. So Swan and Collingwood have won that battle of tactics in terms of Swan taking Goddard.
Free kick to St Kilda. It's a hold. Free kick to St Kilda up there. Free kick to St Kilda.
So as the wrestling goes on.
Stay out of it. Let him go now, Sam. Let him go.
So the Saints free kick. McAvoy's chasing. Needs to get to Graham. Now Graham looks up. It's got Riewoldt outside. Now Nick's got to go all the way here. Cossey's held up. Now he's going to go to Kajicki. Does he get him? He does.
Well, that's the ultimate goal by stealth.
Here's the mark.
Get 20 players wrestling behind the footy. Opens up your forward line, doesn't it?
Hope you've got 19 against their 20.
But it's what we were talking about before. Nick Riewoldt didn't get sucked into that. He's just really got to take this team by the scruff of the neck. Probably won't get the result, but at least be seen to be doing the right thing.
Cossey's been very accurate from set shots this year, and that one, he's kicked it. Just their second goal for the afternoon.
It's not a tackle here, it's a smother by Alan Didak, but the turning point of the game, although you'd assume Collingwood had the ascendancy at half-time, they're actually 8-0 and forward 50 tackles, which is their hallmark this year, and that's been the difference in the domination for Collingwood this quarter.
Gee, Swan was brilliant there. He pickpocketed the ball off Ray, and then Thomas with a spear inside the 50. Blake and Goldsack. Blake keeps it in, and that one out wide to Peake. Peake away. He had a moment, didn't he, Peake, in that second quarter. McWalter comes in late. It surely looked a mark, but it'll be a ball up.
Well, a fantastic chase by McCaffrey.
Yep.
Made Peake run and kick the ball in the air.
Almost feel like Didak's off the leash, don't you?
Celebrate with the crowd.
It's a shimmy, I think.
Riewoldt wins the tap. D'Alessandro breaks the tackle, and then on the left foot, Collingwood with all the numbers. Milne gives a free kick away.
And that is not paid.
Still without a kick in this grand final, Steve Milne.
Reid back and okay. Okay, a relative term. Rolled the ankle. Will be sore tomorrow, if in fact he can feel it. Here's Pendlebury. Drifted out of the game in this term, but so important early. It's a left half back in the bright sunshine. Drives it beyond the wing. Jolly settles in front. Loose ball at the back. Stolen away by Thomas. To his own advantage. Needs a kick. Kicks it from the boundary line directly to Gilbert. He's in trouble. Dragged down. Revolt favoured by the hand pass. Opposite direction, Graham. Revolt ducked into it. Now he needs to be careful. Is that holding the ball? Play on's the call. I think that's Blair who got tossed. He's tossable and will have a bounce.
There's 3 more forward 50 inside tackles. They were 8 zip and now it's 11 zip. Just see Sam Fisher with a crook hamstring from all accounts. But this swarm mentality of the Collingwood is impressive to see.
Jolly. And then Del Santo, good tackle. Wellingham first up.
And again, he had no chance, let him up.
Yes, different sides have different hallmarks, and this forward 50 tackling pressure of Collingwood, that really is the thing that has actually elevated them above the competition.
So Revolt doing the ruck work. Thomas winning the tap. Pendlebury, is he within range? No. Well, he was within range but didn't have the range. The radar. So Collingwood 46 points in front, deep into the premiership quarter. And Gwilt from the back pocket.
Hugs the boundary line in Collingwood fashion. Jolly tries to hook it down. Eddie did well. Revolt on the outer side. High ball. Peak is favoured by the kick. Had it slammed away though. Rove by Goddard. Required at both ends. Into the path of Montagna. Race back with Johnson. Takes a Collingwood bounce deep to the pocket. Johnson stole it away. Across to Brown. Back to Johnson. Johnson runs into a tackle from Eddie. Down he went. Crawling after it, Peak. Too slippery there for the man closest. Eddie, it came to McWalter. Into the path of Hayes. Hayes with the outside of the boot. That's a hard-working tradesman's goal.
It's one of the rare times St Kilda have got a ground-level goal, but there's going to be space in their forward line if they can get it there, because Collingwood push so many players upfield to defend from their forward 50, and Hayes who just keeps getting there, but most of the time when the ball's coming to ground there, Collingwood have got it.
So McAvoy now in the ruck. Got over the top. Back to Del Santo. Good tackle from Wellingham. Swan, Peak. Peak did pretty well. Back to ball. Brilliant handball. Wellingham to Swan. Controlled the kick. Brilliant Swan.
Hasn't he been important this quarter? Engaged Goddard. Dane Swan we're talking about is engaged Goddard. Got the centre clear. Although he only had the 21 disposals last week, he had 9 centre clearances or 9 clearances. That's his best work, breaking away from the stoppage.
More important, he's dropped the Jones tag and he's had the willpower to actually stay with Goddard enough to drop Jones off.
20 yards!
Well, Didak with a couple of goals, Swan with 1. Cloak, they're probably 3 of what you would think they're match winners. Quite his first halves, all of them, but getting on the board in the second half, Cloak just kept it to the near side. But you feel like that's one behind that's not going to feel like it'll come back to him tonight. It's 10 goals, 8 to 3 goals, 9.
Collingwood have reached their total of last week. And St Kilda's total. Goddard straight down the middle. Desperate times. Oh, terrific mark. McAvoy, the big man, launches himself. He's got it alongside the centre circles. Del Santo goes down towards half forward. Well weighted kick. Just getting it over the head of Thomas. Taken by McWalter. Keen to go to Gilbert, at least initially. Now decides against that. And they skirt the perimeter. Getting back goal set. Took the arms. Advantages paid. Hayes across the ground to Baker. Very casual. Baker met by side bottom. Was that a push in the back on McAvoy? No. Hand pass from Shaw, deflected by Eddie. Swooping on it. Nicely worked by Hayes to Schneider. Schneider goes out wide to Goddard. What a game he's played. Goddard hooks it down towards the pocket. Milne completely outnumbered. Well, made a nuisance of himself. Peak at the back of the pack. In goes Reid. Falls on top of Montagna. And we've got a ball up.
So Goldsack a bit wounded here. Good effort. He kicked the opening goal of the match, Goldsack. So McWalter's kick just too tall for Del Santo, and then problems for the Saints. Del Santo kicks forward. Thomas just has to sit and wait. He does, and then kicks the ball towards the boundary, wants it to go out. Ray with a bit of time here. Can he deliver? Nah. Thomas Brown like a goalkeeper. And then McCaffer building it out of the back half. Dawson and Dawes. And the big D wins out. Back inside to Pendlebury. Side bottoms on.
What about that passage of play with Dawson? Dawson, I think it was. Dawson just looked deflated, didn't go at the ball full gust. They're actually 3-on-1 at the time. We just see the turnover here by Dale Thomas. He's playing a hell of a game again.
Talk about players elevating their reputations in the big games. Dale Thomas, last week and this week, he's been magnificent.
If you had a combined Norms with the two matches, he might be in front right now, along with Goddard, I guess.
Playing a fair game too, still side bottom, no doubt about that.
Well, he's the only teenager out there. Murray Wiedemann, one of the 3 living captains, is the youngest ever premiership player at 17 in 1953, and side bottom kicks another one, and Collingwood get past 10 goals today.
What a fine young player he is. That rare blend of will and skill, and he gets the goal. The 11th for the Magpies. Hayes, that's holding the ball.
Holding the ball, no legal handball.
Swan have enjoyed that. Just looks across the ground, lobs the ball into the path of his playmaker teammate, Pendlebury. Comes back now, Reid, up towards the wing, McCaffer. When it counted, he was sensational. McCaffer, down towards half forward. Dawes has not stopped presenting, off hands. Hand pass from Tooby, a little untidy. Schneider. Well, even then McCaffer got him, and goes again McCaffer. Pendlebury forced to kick with the right foot, a high one down towards the half-forward flank, holding on. And the advantage of presenting and getting in front, and Dawes gets a free
Your arms
kick.
around his waist, he
The
can't
umpire's
jump.
seen enough.
Come back, thanks, Brendan.
The hold's there. He's just a mountain of a man, Chris Dawes, and it draws the contact from his opponents because he controls so much space and does it so well for a young player.
Doubt he can get the distance from here. Kazitsky is back in the goal square. You can see him on the kickoff line. Cloak is there. Dawson is there. Just centres the ball for Cloak. Over the top, Kazitsky, though. Long time to wait and think about it. He did well to come up and take the mark.
He realised Dawes, if he tried to kick it, it would have landed on the goal line and an easy rush behind.
Which he did a bit last week, didn't he? He took those long shots. Eddie runs into the back of Maxwell. McCaffer. Terrific match again today in a big contest. Milne tried a little toe poke. Peak goes back. And then Del Santo with that control foot to Eddie. Eddie gets on his bike and then kicks to half forward. This is the sun problem that Brad Johnson talked about at the start of the match. Revolt, Montagna. O'Brien brings him down. And then Brown's little kick clever to Shaw. And then Shaw looks up and controls the leg to side bottom.
Just been able to get the ball out in space so well, Collingwood. Even when there's a contest, someone will punch it out to get it out into space. So they're younger, fresher legs, which have been really pivotal in the second half for Collingwood.
Well, Dane Swan, as we said, quite his first half, having a terrific third quarter. Back to Shaw. It's not a bad thing having an Uncle Tony in big-time sport. Rafa Nadal's got an Uncle Tony. It's worked well for him. Shaw out wide.
That's your mark.
Just speaking about Dane Swan, hasn't had the huge possession tally, but importantly he had 10 tackles, second most for the Collingwood players.
He's worked hard inside. He just
absolutely.
hasn't had the high disposal count we get used to during the year.
And Shaw got it from Beams, drives it around the outer side. Brown launches himself, crumbs his own ball. Swan just relishing the freedom now, gives it across to Johnson. Johnson hugs the boundary line on the outer side. Ball goes after it, lost it, knocked away, out of bounds.
And there is Uncle Tony Lee. You did a lap of honour with him today.
He did. Collingwood's premiership captain. Looks like the title might be about to last premiership captain. Title about to be passed on.
Remarkable dynasty, aren't they? Close to the boundary line, it goes out. Heath's dad played in 4 losing grand finals and a draw. I think from memory captain in a couple of them. And he's played a heck of a game last week and again today, Heath Shaw.
Been wonderful, hasn't he? Collingwood pushing forward. Cloak brought down by Dawson. Pendlebury wants something of Jolly. Gwilt with him, and a boundary throw in. So Jolly, who went to the Swans in 05 from Melbourne, first season at the Swans, a premiership, comes to Collingwood in 10, along with Ball, and seemingly history's going to repeat itself for the big guy.
You reckon he might be hot property on the trade table this week, Bruce?
Untouchable, I think. I've got to say the Jolly Ball pickup was a good one.
Oh, gave them by particularly Jolly. They didn't have the big ruckman, Collingwood. Jolly is a good quality big man.
So Gwilt bangs it as far as he can. Blake, good mark. Back inside to Ray, looked up, had nothing really. He's got Revolt, but he's in an awkward position. Brown at the back, did well, doing the roving though, was Koschitzki. Milne goes forward, that's his first kick. Shaw getting back, McWalter behind him, and Heath Shaw happily sees a go over. Well, there's always a hard luck story, and that guy who they love at Collingwood, don't they? Presti, he's the oldest player that was selected last week, and he decided that he wasn't fit enough, and today he's sitting it out.
And a boundary throw in his neck of the woods. No pun intended. Hurriedly off the boot by Revolt. Jolly, towering kick. They all settle underneath it. Some misjudgment there from Goldsack, and Gilbert just drifted in, took it.
Yeah, Swan tried to hold him out of the marking contest, but Gilbert shrugged the block off.
Right where the emblem is.
Well, his kicking has been wayward today. Had some golden opportunities when he went forward, just 3 behinds. And I think all of those eminently kickable in the second term. Here he is, looking to make amends. Guides it, and guides it well. It's through for a goal.
Just see Scott Pendlebury on screen. He only had the 5 kicks last week. He's up to 16, 22 disposals, 11 tackles. He's been absolutely instrumental for Collingwood in the midfield.
Could one quick goal here make a difference? Pendlebury cut off, not 15, back to Hayes. Hayes belts it forward. Revolt trying to get off the leash. It's been a hard leash to get off. Gee, Brown's stature's growing by the minute, isn't it? Back to Maxwell, the captain. And then Maxwell delivers down the line. And Jolly comes in and takes a mark. And he'll savour the moment. Biggest margin ever overcome to win at three-quarter time is 23 points. Essendon in 1984. Sorry, Lee.
Thanks, Bruce.
And then Maxwell, Tim likes that one. But Collingwood led by 27 in 1977 in the drawn game.
7 goals is should win territory. 10 goals is will win.
Yeah.
So at 7, you know who I like to be on, that's for sure.
Maxwell, you're a careful punter, Lee.
No, I used to think that.
Well, they went on with it, didn't they, Collingwood? They increased the lead. They've put themselves so close to touching the Holy Grail. At three-quarter time in the grand final replay, it's Collingwood 11-8-74, St Kilda 4-9-33.
Three-quarter time in the grand final replay, the margin is 41 points. What about that succession plan? I think Eddie perhaps pulled the wool over our eyes. He was talking a success plan, and one of those members of the succession plan is Nathan Buckley. He's with Matthew Richardson.
Well, Bucks, you're 41 points up. Last quarter of the year, you look to have it won. What was the message from Mick?
Look, it's just more of the same. We've been very good. Our structures have been good for 3 quarters. That's why we're in this position, so we need to do it for another quarter.
It's going to mean to you to be a part of a Collingwood premiership?
It'd be fantastic, and all credit to the 22 blokes that are there at the moment for doing 3 quarters of the job, so let's finish it off.
And the fans, mate, they're going to go berserk. It's going to lift the roof off this place.
Yeah, mate, we'll worry about that in 30 minutes. Good on you.
Good luck.
Brendan Goddard's got 24 possessions. Scott Pendlebury up to 23 now. And Luke Ball has got 20. And Tim Watson, that's a heck of a story.
It is indeed, Dennis, and both he and Jolly have been magnificent. But this time last year, Luke was, in fact, a saint. He agonised over that move, believing in the end that it was about opportunity and having a coach who really believed in him. And we know that in last year's grand final, he was used sparingly against Geelong. I mean, to Luke right now, I've known him since he was a kid, it must look like a mighty great decision that he's made.
So 11-8 plays 4-9. Bucks working 1 quarter time there with Richo, wasn't it?
Well, everyone else in the ground probably thinks Collingwood's home, but not the Collingwood coaching box. I guarantee they won't think they're home. You can't think that way until very late in the game.
When will they do the walk, Lee? Your walk was very famous in 1990.
More goals in front than minutes to go, Tom.
Righto.
That's the one.
Well, they're already... Well, no, they're not there. They're more points in front with minutes to go. But, well, it would take a miracle.
Yeah.
It's been a good year for Saints in Australia, but they need something, don't they? Mary McKillop and all that, but I'm not sure if they can produce something that she had to reach the exalted heights that she's about to.
We spoke last week, they pinched a draw, didn't they, St Kilda, with only 35 inside 50 entries, which is incredibly low. Well, today they've only had 28, so they just can't get the ball forward enough against the Collingwood defence.
30 minutes away from a 15th premiership, you would think. Collingwood playing its 500th match at the MCG. The first back in 1897. Tuvey out of the centre. Kicks the ball inside, not quite inside that forward 50. Gilbert deep for a moment. Had it stripped and robbed. Side bottom's been good. Back to Jolly. And then Jolly uses Johnson, and Johnson's long kick, not great, but gets over Kaczynski. Hands were okay from Dawson to Jones. Jones probing and fishing a bit. Peake, Jones, they're going backwards, and the kick picked off by Tuvey against Schneider. Back inboard to Johnson.
Classic Collingwood though. St Kilda just got boxed in that forward pocket and forced the turnover. Tuvey back.
O'Brien was running outside. He goes to the pocket and Dawes has got it. It's a good kick.
And to follow on, just the pinpoint pass along the boundary to Dawes.
Yeah. I mean, they've had that when you've got to try and run the ball out of defence. No other team in the competition really has been able to do it against Geelong. But again today, St Kilda, as soon as they've got into handball in their back 50, it's probably going to get turned over soon.
Well, he's one of the success stories. He's one of the reasons they've improved, haven't they? The structure's better with him forward. Reid at the other end's been very good. We know that Wellingham and McCaffer and side bottom and Beams have continued to emerge. Tuvey's a better player, but this guy's been a very important part of all of it. Oh, how sweet it is.
Oh, it's a sweet moment, isn't it, when you kick a goal. 8.8 goals clear now early in the last quarter of the grand final. It's a great moment.
Back in the middle. The ruckman touched the ball. Swan slabs it forward. Graham gets back. Some indecision. Jones sold into trouble, did well. Kicks it towards the outer side. Jolly tracks it back. Awkward bouncing footy. Smothered off the boot there. McWalter's kick went straight into O'Brien, and O'Brien finds a way through. Well, almost dragged down. Kicks it out wide. Del Santo goes back and takes the mark. Del Santo at left half forward. Says something about the respect we have for the Saints. You keep thinking, well, they're not quite dead yet, but gee, you'd think so. 60 metres out, long down towards full forward. Big pack at the drop. Brown just slaps it away defiantly. Jolly onto the loose ball. Pendlebury feeds it back. Swan, Pendlebury draws a man, goes to side bottom along the boundary. Dawes wants it, gets it.
Some real winners in that passage of play. Darren Jolly's ability to work back and help out his defenders, not the conventional way for Collingwood, has been instrumental since half-time.
When Pendlebury won the Anzac medal, he must be a chance for the Norm Smith today. Swan gets it short from Johnson.
Pendlebury's response from last week, only having the 5 kicks, and he looked hurt, he looked lame, so you'd assume he's probably still a little bit under the weather, but his game today has been outstanding.
So Reid short to Swan. Schneider gets a little bit of it. Swan back though. uses Johnson, a natural left footer, so it's on the right side for him. That floating kick of his to Shaw. Shaw quickly on. Didak in a dangerous spot. 1-on-1. Well done at the back, Dempster. Wellingham. Little give. Didak still. Weaving a bit out wide. Not good, Dawson. Montagna quiet today. And Collingwood with all the numbers. And he is very much like his surname, isn't he, Heath? He's...
Oh, look at the Collingwood prove that.
So ball forward.
Towards the pocket. Interesting. Two Saints fell over. Dawes hand passes to the goal square. Thomas turns around and pops it through on the bounce. Was flattened anyway. Doesn't matter. Goal to stand. I won't get two. That'll be greedy. Oh, look at that. Joyous scenes. Come on, Pies. Almost in tears already.
I think he is in tears.
What a remarkable scene.
I'll tell you what, premierships are great. They're great for the players, no doubt about that, but they're absolutely outstanding for supporters. I know with an army like Collingwood, they're just going to be absolutely over the moon. These players will be thanked for the rest of their lives, I reckon, Lee.
Eddie's trying to think, how the hell can we lose from here? But we might, so I can't let myself go yet. You always think grand finals are about tears of joy or tears of despair. At the moment, the Collingwood people are a bit of tears of joy, I think.
But he grew up watching it too, Lee.
Yeah, he did.
So when Eddie starts to cry, it's official, isn't it?
I think it's official.
You've either won or you lost. And today they are tears of joy. They've been magnificent, Collingwood. Brown fending off, another great success story. Schneider had a couple of moments, one on half-time, one early in the third. Back to Hayes. And then Hayes to Goddard. It was brilliant early. Del Santo could kick this. He's 55 metres out. It's a vacant goal square. Does he get the bounce? He does. It's a goal.
I'm fair to say Ross Lyon went to the rabbit pretty early today, plucked him out of the hat. Gilbert went forward. Had he kicked those goals?
Not sure whether he should have started him there, Dennis.
Yeah, good
Game
point.
was already slipping away by that point.
Kozetsky just went straight at Brown, over the top Goddard. Terrific hand pass. Del Santo goes with the outside of the boot. O'Brien being held by one arm, takes the mark. Chips it to Thomas.
Hasn't Thomas elevated his name?
Yeah.
Last 2 weeks.
Yeah. O'Brien's had a very good final series as well. Thomas just outstanding. Pendlebury along the line, and Didak is starting to strut. And when Didak struts, that is bad news for everybody except Collingwood. Swan.
Isn't that everybody?
So Swan on the outer side, a long way to go, just under 15 minutes. But it seems this one is in the book. Didak again. Didak along the line. Only one thing can happen. Out of bounds and well, that's two. I was going to say, or a mark for Collingwood. It's
the yellow jacket's on. It is official.
Yeah.
Tears for Eddie, the gold jacket for Joffy. Put down the glasses, I reckon.
But you notice Eddie pulled rank, he went first. Goddard searches. Collingwood's last premiership lead, of course you remember it well, the score was 13-11 to 5-11. At the moment it's 13-8 to 5-9. And that was Collingwood's greatest winning margin in any grand final, so they might be able to upstage that today.
I'll tell you what is interesting. I think whenever there's a premiership team, they always talk about dynasties and era, basically when they win their first one. You look at this Collingwood side, so many young players. They look like the future's pretty bright for them.
A lot of people are leaving Melbourne, if you say that. Thomas kicks out wide and a boundary throw in. So Ray Shaw, the Shaw family.
Bruce Shaw alongside him.
And Ray in all those grand finals, the drawn one. Reece, who played in a losing grand final against the Lions. The Heath going to join Uncle Tony as a winner in the black and white in a grand final. Swan forward, Blake building it towards the line and over the line. Just got nothing out of the, well, let me say the bottom six for the Saints today. Nothing, have they?
Yeah, it's looked pretty sparse there. If we just even go from a statistical point of view, Dempster 7 touches, McQualter 7, Baker 4, looked a bit shaky after a week, Eddie and Milne. Yep, doesn't read well.
Wellingham liked his game too. Oh, gee. Not a bad effort. Right against the boundary line. Got some deft touches today. Just gone in there and worked the ball clear of the packs. No possessions really on occasions, but able to do that to good effect. That's where Collingwood wanted the game played, in the open. O'Brien flies from behind. Here's danger. Side bottom. They stay off him. Comes back to Maxwell. Maxwell will go back again to Brown. Now there's a man on to the far side. Swan hasn't spotted him yet. Still there. Wow. He's just he's ignored Swan.
He'll get it eventually.
Eventually. Wow. Made him wait. And then the kick wasn't too flash. Swan against the boundary line. That's better. Thomas coming up to his 23rd possession. Don't be surprised if he wins a medal this afternoon. Not just one, maybe two.
Gee, sprinted for 50 metres there, Thomas.
His work rate, said it earlier in the call, he has almost typified Collingwood's year. He's taken his game to another level, just as Collingwood have done.
He was 2 in the same draft that Pendlebury was 5.
Oh, good draft.
Not a good kick.
The Collingwood crowd's now cheering, and it's a 50-metre penalty. It'll take it to within Harry O'Brien's range as well, but the Collingwood crowd's just cheering every mark now.
He has had a good final series, Harry. All Australian this year, but he had a modest grand final last week, but he's rectified that today.
Mill did a good job on him last week, but yes, he's reversed that particular duel today. He's kept Mill completely out of it.
Started today really well and had that real energy. Went for a run, took an intercept ball across half forward for the Pies. He's had a great day.
He can kick a long running goal, we know that. He's 50 out. It's a beautiful kick. He's jumped out of the thinking chair right now. He feels like Einstein.
Great picture.
Wonderful kick. 14th goal of his career, first of the afternoon. Equaling his career high. He's got there in ones. He kicked one last week as well. Here he is again at the back end now, Harry O'Brien. Crumbs the football, goes to Ball. Everyone just getting a roar. Ball around the outer side. High one. In front, Gilbert. Good mark. Under pressure. Short to Del Santo. Has seen a lot of the football, but hasn't done much with it. Goddard went to ground. Jones kicks inside the forward 50 and Milne bobs up. Milne likes this situation to run around and pull it back across his body, and invariably it ends like that. Well done.
Well, we know who's going to get their hands all around that in the next 15 minutes. St Kilda without consecutive goals all day. They haven't been able to get any flow on. They crawl their way up to 6. Milne a goal with just his second kick for the afternoon. Didak running hard and then delivering. Brown got down low, stays down, little give. Back to Blair, Cloak, back to Didak. And then Didak hugging the line. They do it so well. Jolly a rare fumble. Back to Didak. Didak just thinking about it. And then hooking back to a one-on-one where the odds were against the little guy. And Blake pulls rank on Blair.
Tough for both teams about now.
Nothing tough about it for Collingwood, Dennis.
Well, they want the siren. They want to celebrate. Taking on the outer side, Shaw. Who might have tell you, Tom? Here's Shaw, 55 metres out short, one Wellingham. Wellingham is through, runs into an open goal and kicks it.
Nothing tough about that.
Well, what we're seeing now is the best of the best team this season.
Yeah. Actually, we spoke about Collingwood's inaccuracy. There's been 4 rushed behind for Collingwood, so they've kicked 15 goals, 5 from off the boot. So their accuracy today has been exceptionally good.
If you're really awful and cynical, you say it's because Travis hasn't had many shots. That's terrible. Here's Shaw kicking the ball in high and hard to full forward. Blake probably should have got a free. Gilbert in that back half. Kosicki's little give awful. Bull tried to rob it of him.
You mentioned this is the best of Collingwood. Also, Bruce, I think it's fair to say they've built their game on just respecting the situation. 10 minutes to go, 10 and a half minutes to go. They'll play it out. They'll play the whole game out. They'll be laying those 50 tackles, those spoils, shepherds, all the hard stuff they're renowned for. They'll play this game right out to the last minute.
Gilbert back to Dempster, under pressure. Quick kick from Baker. All the numbers, Collingwood and Maxwell. Well, that's not the most famous last quarter mark he's taken, but it was a good one.
Started the game exceptionally well again, had those structures. St Kilda put some time into him. I think it was Eddie to start with, then Mick Walter. Gilbert played on him.
There's equal parts fatigue and adrenaline, but with the adrenaline,
well, he hasn't kicked
and the excitement, not out of the question he can lob a 55-metre shot.
Well, he hasn't kicked a goal this year, Lee. He's kicked 2 behinds for the season.
He's limbering up.
He's having a crack at it.
Well, this is for bragging rights at about midnight tonight, isn't it?
On the Collingwood logo.
Well, he's got the distance, but neither Nick has kicked a goal. And we talked about Carey and Brown, Jonathan Brown last week. It's very hard, I'm thinking about Revolt today, for a big forward to actually really kick a bag, isn't it?
Nathan Brown's done a magnificent job. He's always been there and done really well in the contest.
Reid
Goddard, push out.
got hands to it, but Goddard was pushed under the ball by Brown.
Has he won the contest, Lee, Nathan Brown?
I think he has, because he's won the contest in the 50-metre arc, and they're the critical ones against Revolt.
Yep. Atlanta got the opening goal. The only change to their side, goal sack, and what a good change it was. Back in for Leon Davis, who still gets a medal, beams around the outer side, goes down towards the attacking 50, side bottom, stolen out of his hands by Blair, the little fellow, just misses. Must be sick of the little fella. I'll stop.
Dare say he's had it all his life, Dennis.
Kick to behind. The big fella just missed to the right.
I know all about that one. Here's Hayes. Gwilt. I think his reputation's been enhanced, Gwilt.
Yeah.
Baker. Well, it worked last week with Baker, but he struggled today. Oh, good mark, Beams.
Yes, that talk of the second-up game where you're actually still recovering from the first week. That's had the look today, hasn't it, with Baker?
So Didak back to Shaw, and then back to Maxwell. You talked about a dynasty for maybe Collingwood, and you think of the Saints, this will be their 3rd grand final in 2 seasons without a win. And the official attendance today, 93,853. Now, in 1977, they got 108 and 98. 100 today in 93, so something similar. So O'Brien.
Johnson. Heath Shaw goes for a gallop. Turvey. Revolt comes at him. Turvey kicks down towards half forward. Baker judged it best. Dawson. Now Peake. He's at right half back. The former Docker. Kicks beyond the wing. And the mark is taken by Eddie. 4 players involved there we haven't seen a lot of this afternoon. Down towards the pocket. Coming up the ground. Schneider takes a tumble and the ball ricochets out of bounds. So boundary throw in right on the 50. Lee Brown comes across and will do the rucking. He's been the perfect foil after a sluggish start. Gave away some early free kicks, but gee, he's worked his way into the contest. Shaw. Kick from Swan to the wing. Oh, terrific by Cloak.
It's a wonderful contested mark. He's taken the most in terms of average throughout the year. He kicks the ball inside 50. Side bottom held on to. Jolly got up high. Back to Dempster. So Dempster and Schneider, 5 grand finals each. Just that one win. Their first. Goddard. Del Santo. Milne. Montagna. Big names. Back to Peake. And then Peake decides to go with a long ball, and Reid gets back.
That was re-rolled versus 3 Collingwood opponents. That was why St Kilda just had nowhere to go deep forward.
Well, Reid can hardly walk, but I don't reckon he wants to come off, that's for sure. Johnson wide to Beams. To Maxwell running on.
Thomas.
You called it, Tom.
His work rate, Bruce, is unbelievable. He started on the opposite forward flank and just ran past. I think it might be Dempster is on the mark. Just a huge Herculean effort.
Yep. He's gone to the next level, hasn't he?
No doubt.
Well, nothing's beyond them today. Hits the post.
Just spend a bit of time to talk about St Kilda. They've been up for a long time now. Played in the last 2 grand finals. It's going to be really interesting and challenging to bounce back from this one, Lee.
Wilt to the outer side. Lee's thinking about that. It's out of bounds, so we'll have a throw in.
Yeah, no, they do need to actually find a little bit more of their bottom few, don't they? I mean, they've got probably 6 of the best 12 players when, you know, even 10 players before the game started today. Not necessarily on today's performance, but they've had a few, half a dozen that don't give them a lot quite often.
Thomas to Swan. Settles, goes to Jolly. Jolly down towards right half forward. Clock continues to run. Inside 6 minutes now. Jolly goes for distance. Try and mark that. Well, he does. Well played there by Dempster. Ghosting across in front of the pack. Hand passes into the path of Blake. Graham. Little chip to Revolt. Thought that might happen. Revolt's on the wing. Looks back towards the corridor. Ray. Gilbert. Well, that's a beautiful pass. Just got it there in time. Tuvey was coming across. McWalter will take this kick directly in front.
I think they've made the most of that opportunity, St Kilda, but Rewald marking the ball up on the wing, that's great. Rewald works so hard, but they've just, if he's a transition player, they've got no one to go to when they get within scoring distance.
Good look at it. Kick has got the carry, not quite. Taken by Maxwell. Chickley runs away. Well, when you're the captain of the premiership team, you can do that. He kicks it up towards the wing. Gilbert came at the football. So too Dempster, his teammate, feeds it forward. Del Santo inside the 50. And there he is again, the skipper. How sweet this is. They gave him the number 5. And my word, he's never let it down. Not for one game.
If it wasn't a famous number going into the season, it will be now. No doubt about that.
So the Premier and the President, eh? Who pulls rank on who? A President or a Premier?
Today it's the President.
Well, Eddie probably holds the most influential position in Victoria, doesn't he? The kick out wide taken by Brown. Yeah, we've seen the best of Maxwell in the last 5 minutes, haven't we? All the good things that he does.
His leadership and his ability to just say the right thing, have the right attitude. I've always been so impressed, Tom, with the way you led Geelong in their premiership era, but the way Nick does, it's a very similar role he seems to play.
It's actually a really good position on the ground to lead from. You've got the game behind, in front of you, particularly if you can orchestrate where you can free yourself up as well, can really drive the team message. And Nick Maxwell, hats off to him, he's done a fantastic job with his footy club.
And for Nick Revolt, well, there were tears maybe last year, but he's going to feel gutted today. He'll feel like he just didn't do enough himself. It was a hard day for a big forward for the Saints. Big fly coming at the back from Goddard. St Kilda go forward. And at Milne, well, he's had so little of the ball today. Has he kicked a second goal in the last quarter? He has. But the 2 today don't measure up to the 2 last week.
Exactly double. 102 to 51. Under 3.5 minutes, Michael Malthouse comes down to the boundary. His 3rd premiership in vintage form. That in itself is an amazing story. We touched on it at 3/4 time. Ray dragged down. Thomas has got the football inside the centre square. Fires a pass. Almost an involuntary mark there to Wellingham. Turns around, goes long. Side bottom. Anything the Saints can muster at one end, Collingwood doing better at the other.
This is really interesting down on the Collingwood bench. He got the feel that Mick Malthouse wanted Scott Pendlebury out on the field. Thomas came off. He sent Thomas back out. He said, you can stay out there. He's trying to orchestrate, I guess, the younger players to be sitting on the pine.
Who's on, who's off?
Side bottom runs around, and that is the cream. They're home, well and truly, but they may not be home later tonight. I'm suggesting the early hours of tomorrow morning.
Well, he's the only teenager out there. Still side bottom. Kicks his second. Collingwood are going to win by close to 10 goals. Graham and Wellingham so slippery trying to get out of it. And Michael Malthouse in winning today, well, he joins you, Lee. It's tears of joy here. Everybody sort of, as a living Collingwood coach, but he joins you and Ron Barassi as having won a premiership as a player or coach at 3 different clubs. It's only Barassi, Matthews and Malthouse. I'd like to be in that club. How big that is.
Hey,
and of course he's the oldest coach ever now to win a VFL AFL Grand Final.
What Mick's doing down there, he's putting it loose. David Butterfin, who's his conditioning coach. I'm not sure what that
surely he's not orchestrating a loose man in defence.
A recovery session.
Hayes going nowhere, taken front on by Jolly.
He might be planning for next year. He's still coaching, as we know, in front of, with Buck sitting on his shoulder.
Well, the draw was marginally better than last week than the result today. Hayes, at least they got a chance to fight on after last week. All in vain today. Peake, revolt, tackled by Tuvey, wrestled down. Peake feeds it forward. Schneider slips away, runs down towards half forward, comes back to Graham. Graham unloads, but drifting back. Maxwell takes the mark. Ball is on the move. That's ignored. Goes to the other side. Heath Shaw's got it.
They have played the game out to the very second. Nick Maxwell setting up the structures. Now they'll just milk the clock, get it to the crowd favourites, give them a cheer.
That's all of them.
Here we go. This is true.
Ball to O'Brien. O'Brien still inside the defensive 50. Said earlier today that 8 of their premierships had been won after finishing on top. They finished on top this season. Strong mark is taken by McAvoy. Plays on to Gwilt. Gwilt looks inside the forward 50, unloads with a long kick. Plenty of Magpies down there, off hands, taken in defence by Shaw, smothered off the boot. Revolt, hand passes to Jones. Across it comes to McWalter, hand passes to Hayes. And he misses.
Gee, he kicked a point at the same end late last week, didn't he? But slightly different repercussions. Dennis Josh Cage is telling me 8 of those premierships too coming in October for Collingwood. 8 of their 15.
It's amazing when you look around the ground. So much of the ground's thinned out. I'm guaranteed there were some Kilda supporters
no doubt about that.
And all the black and white supporters are still here.
Before the game, the atmosphere was electric. It was the People's Grand Final. The fans got into the game, and the Collingwood fans in particular have absolutely lapped this up.
So ball out wide. I said it last week, but you feel like a big club is just getting bigger by the moment, don't you? It'll be their 15th premiership, one shy of Carlton and Essendon.
They're all legends now. Have a listen to that.
What a peculiar position and a beautiful position Luke Ball has found himself in, having played for the Saints last year against Geelong. So Collingwood win by their greatest ever margin in a grand final. It doesn't get better than that.
We just get you around the right way here. It's a hard way to do it, 8 quarters of footy.
Well, we said it was half time. We had a good last half. All these were just terrific. Absolutely true. All year and years before that. So
they're a special group of young men, aren't they?
Well, you win a premiership
I take it out to the Saints. You know, they're no less special, but it was our day and we won. So it's fantastic.
Nick, you haven't been in this situation since 1994. That's a long time ago. Does this one feel like it did back there in 1994?
Oh, wrong time to be answering that, really. Wrong time to be asking, wrong time to be answering it. It's just been, well, I just, you know, West Coast, but I've just gone up for, I just think there's so many things here for the great Collingwood army that have put up with a hell of a lot, and I just think it's fantastic for them, fantastic for the players, everyone that worked at the football club, and, oh well, a great relief.
Thanks, mate.
Josh Fraser there, 200 games for the club. Down to you, Richard.
Yeah, Nick, how does this feel, mate? You are the premiership captain.
Hey, good's grand final replays.
You like them now?
Mate, St Kilda surrendered us last week, and there's a lot of things we did well, but a lot of things we did poorly, and it all just clicked today, mate. And it's been unbelievable where these boys have come from. Guys like Jared Blair, who wasn't even in our top 40 players before that round 10 when he got his go. So there's so many individual stories, and also heartbreaking for Presty and Obes and Fraser and Madge, who have driven this club for so many years, and Tark and Lockyer. Those guys are the ones who have been an inspiration. They're the ones who taught us how to play footy, and the heart goes out to those guys, but we're still a part of it.
As you said, mate, it's a real team effort. That's what it's been all year for Collingwood. It's been total team. Everyone just played their role. You did it again today.
And our whole week, the whole theme was know your role, play your role. I think a few guys got caught up in trying to do too much last week, but this week they did it, mate.
Get over to him, mate.
Tim, I think you've got Luke Ball, Tim.
Well, Luke, congratulations. I know you agonised over the move to Collingwood last year, but it's got to be the right move, hasn't it? I mean, you must be feeling just absolutely elated now, or is there just a pang of bitterness about the fact that you're looking over there? I noticed it before, looking over there at the Saints players. You know how they feel.
I do, yeah. So, look, it's a weird feeling, Tim, to be honest. I'm just so happy for the Collingwood Footy Club and the supporters and Mick, and they gave me a chance. But yeah, on the same side, I do know how they're feeling, and I've got some great mates over there, and I really feel for them. So I'm so happy for this group. It's such a long year, and it's been even longer this year after what happened last week. They deserve it. They work so hard, but yeah, there's part of me that does feel for them.
Mate, go and enjoy it. Well done.
What a gentleman he is, Luke Ball. He was in that same draft as Hodge and Judd, wasn't it? It was Hodge, Ball and Judd, and they've all got a premiership. They've all got a premiership. Collingwood by 56 points. It's a famous final when Collingwood win it. We'll be back with the presentation after this.